Chapter 38 Spirit Level Martial Skills. Chapter 38 Spirit Level Martial Skills. Inside the cave, the bodies were piled up with all of their profound qi wiped clean. Under the influence of Shi Yan's mysterious martial spirit, the bodies were not only drained of all their profound qi, but even the blood inside the corpses had solidified within a very short time. With all their blood solidified, the bloody smell that once filled the entire cave was not as strong as before. However, Shi Yan was still not satisfied with this. After thinking it over, he quickly took out a packet of medicinal powder from his backpack and sprayed it all around the cave without hesitation. This medicinal powder was called cleansing powder, which had an extraordinary absorbing power, capable of capturing all the little impurities floating in the air, including toxins, smell, and poisonous smoke. After using one packet of cleansing powder, the remaining bloody smell in the cave was instantly wiped clean like magic. After capturing the bloody smell floating in the air, the cleansing powder had become dozens of little red particles which looked just like drops of blood, micronized into little atoms falling onto the ground. I need to find something to hide the cave entrance. Although that bloody smell in the cave was now under control, Shi Yan was still a little bit worried. He started to cover the cave entrance with the nearby bushes and twigs. Although the battle between the two groups was for the cave, both knew of the importance of the nearby foliage. As such, none of the nearby vegetation was moved or destroyed when approaching the cave. However, with the eruption of the star bomb, the bushes at the cave entrance were damaged and cut into pieces. Fortunately, the bushes near the cave entrance were still intact. Now what Shi Yan needed to do was to move the bushes on each side to the middle of the cave entrance to perfectly cover the entire opening. Shi Yan was breathing smoothly and paying great attention to his movements. He was acting with great caution and moving the bushes and leaves towards the entrance of the cave slowly, inch by inch, for fear that the demon beasts outside would discover something strange in this place. With the roaring of the demon beasts getting more and more frequent, they sensed that God knows how many demon beasts had gathered in the valley outside the cave. Shi Yan had a serious look on his face and was acting extremely nervous. Sweat was secretly coming out of his forehead. Even his back started to become wet with sweat. When he finally dragged the last large bush into the cave entrance, even his arms were slightly trembling, as if he had made huge efforts to finish this job. "Are you okay?" Dialin asked with care. "It's nothing, I'm just a little tired." Shi Yan shook his head. His face had turned extraordinarily pale. He stopped to think for a moment and then said, "You too be careful later. If we are ever found by those demon beasts, you must make every effort to guard the cave entrance." Dialin nodded and added with care, "Yeah, I get it. But what on earth has happened to you? I just saw you kicking the ass of that warrior of the human level with my own eyes. But how come you've become so weak right now?" "It's exactly because I made such great efforts to fight with him that I've become so weak right now." Shi Yan sat down with his legs crossed and refused to give any more explanation. At this critical time, surprisingly, he closed his eyes to rest. This was actually the side effect of Rampage kicking off inside his body. Every time he performed Rampage, his body would suffer great pressure. The Rampage martial skill required the excitation of all kinds of negative energy within one's meridians. The power of Rampage served as a double-edged sword, giving you power far beyond your own level for a very short amount of time, but on the other hand, also making you more exhausted afterwards. After all, those negative energies were way too evil and creepy. When these negative energies spilt over from his meridians, they were hurting his body as well. Every time when he finished Rampage, he would be wrapped in waves of exhaustion, weakening his body very quickly. Sitting right there in the cave, Shi Yan felt that both his arms and legs were weak and powerless. The meridians all over his body were also hurting like hell. The profound chi he absorbed from those 6 fresh corpses had also rushed into his meridians, filling his body with wave after wave of strong power. While his meridians were processing and purifying this profound chi with high speed, the negative energies would take advantage of this to sneak out and slowly rot his mind and sanity. At this moment, he couldn't do anything that required effort. His meridians were still busy processing and purifying all this new profound chi. If he couldn't relax his body, he wouldn't be able to achieve a quality recovery at all. Therefore, he made a sensible decision to leave everything else alone. He just sat still, keeping a peaceful mind for the recovery. Seeing him sitting and resting with both eyes closed, the other 2 women, Dialin and Muyu Dai, also looked pretty serious. They concentrated on observing the movements outside the cave. The demon beasts were still moving inside the valley. There were even some demon beasts around their cave, and they seemed to be searching for something. Both Muyu Dai and Dialin were guarding the entrance of the cave very nervously. They didn't dare to take any chance to relax. Dialin was holding her dagger firmly in her hand, looking outside warily through the gaps between the bushes covering the cave entrance, fearing that some demon beast would suddenly jump in. They were both aware that demon beasts had an extremely sensitive sense of smell. They were worried that those beasts might find them through the bloody smell in the air. They knew that once their cave was discovered by any of those demon beasts, they had to guard this cave no matter what the price was. Dang! Dang! A 3-headed hound was coming towards them with its 3 giant heads shaking in the air. It seemed to have found something. Its 6 eyes on its 3 heads were scanning around as if it had discovered something unusual. Oh crap! Dialin suddenly changed the look on her face, grabbing her dagger even more firmly in her hand. With sweat pouring out of her palm, she focused on the 3-headed hound with all of her attention and didn't dare to move her eyes away for a second. Dialin was already extremely tense and was ready to start a fight at any time. The 3-headed hound was a level 3 demon beast, equaling a human warrior of the human level, which was pretty tough to deal with. Moreover, this demon beast possessed an extraordinarily sharp sense of smell. The bloody smell inside the cave might be able to fool other demon beasts, but it could not necessarily hide from this 3-headed hound. Due to her anxiety, Dialin's entire body became stiff and tense. Her hand, which held the dagger, was also shaking slightly, which meant that her profound chi was moving very fast through her veins and vessels. Ah! Right at that moment, a howl from the silver thunderwolf came from the distance, which alerted the whole valley and outmatched all the roaring and shouting of the other demon beasts. I am Gan Shao from the Medicine Valley. I came to the dark forest simply to collect medicine for myself. I have never stepped into your cave. Silver Thunderwolf, I know you are good, but I am not afraid of you. If you continue to harass and kill my people, I will not let you go easy. A low, dark voice came from the distance. Ah! The silver thunder wolf started howling again in the distance. Hearing this howling sound, the 3-headed hound, which was about to approach the cave where the 3 of them were hiding, suddenly stopped right there. It paused a little and quickly turned around and started running towards the howling of the silver thunder wolf in high speed. Upon the howling of the silver thunder wolf, the demon beasts gathered in the valley were also starting to take off, leaving the valley for the silver thunder wolf. The silver thunder wolf and Gan Shao seemed about to have a huge fight. Dialin suddenly relaxed. She felt so weak that she sat right down on the ground with her body covered with sweat. If only that 3-headed hound had moved a little further forward, maybe even a couple of meters, then their cave would have definitely been compromised. And once that 3-headed hound had discovered the cave, the other demon beasts in the valley would most definitely have followed it over here as well. If that really happened, there was no way that the 3 of them could have ever escaped those demon beasts. Sister Lan, are you okay? Muyu Dai was wiping the sweat off her forehead with a handkerchief stained with blood. She also sat down on the ground with the stone wall behind her. It's okay. Dialin smiled softly but still sighed. We were very lucky back then. If the silver thunderwolf didn't have its eyes on Gon Shao from the Medicine Valley and didn't suddenly call for all the demon beasts to gather around it, I am afraid that we wouldn't have been able to make it through this. Yeah, I was also pretty scared just now. Mu Yudai's pretty face also looked quite pale. She added in a low voice, I was even prepared to commit suicide back then. Don't ever have that thought unless we have no other options. Shi Yen sniffed. He suddenly opened his eyes and ordered with a frown, If you have no better things to do, how about searching through the bags and pockets of those 6 warriors, just to see what kind of treasure they had stolen from the cave of that silver thunder wolf? Hearing him saying this, Dialin's eyes suddenly lit up. She agreed with excitement. That's right. The silver thunder wolf is a level 7 demon beast, a top-level creature within the dark forest. It is said that the silver thunder wolf is a highly intelligent creature, and that it has killed dozens of high-level warriors in the dark forest. It must have collected many treasures from those dead warriors and stored them inside its cave. The treasures those warriors have stolen must be extraordinary. I heard that there is a practice method for a spirit-level martial skill, Shi Yen said with a cool voice. Dialin replied with her face filled with joy and her beautiful eyes lit up with excitement. Spirit-level martial skills are very rare. Even for the royal families from our Fire Empire, there are only 5 kinds of spirit-level martial skills. Any practice method for a spirit-level martial skill would be worth millions, and countless big families would even be willing to kill for it. Then you should really search through them very carefully. Shi Yen nodded and closed his eyes again, seemingly having something on his mind. Of course, he knew how precious so-called spirit-level martial skills were. Across the Fire Empire, the God-blessed Empire, and the Merchant Union, there were around 100 warriors who had reached the Earth level and the Nirvana level for a warrior. However, among all these 100 warriors, those with spirit-level martial skills only counted for a quarter of those warriors. And among that quarter, some were even studying and practicing the same kind of spirit-level martial skills. According to the rumor, across the Fire Empire, the God-blessed Empire, and the Merchant Union, there were only 18 kinds of spirit-level martial skills that were already known to the humankind. And each and every kind of those spirit-level martial skills were all possessed by various powerful families or warriors that ruled their own little kingdoms, such as the Shi family. The Shi family had possessed various kinds of martial skills, such as for the mortal level and the sacred level. However, it only had one kind of martial skill of the spirit level, which the master of the family, Shi Jian, believed to be the most precious family treasure. Even his own descendants had no idea where he had kept that spirit-level martial skill. It seems we are in huge luck. Dialin's eyes were filled with joy. She dug out the backpack of the warrior leader with excitement and didn't waste any time opening it. A strong wave of silver light started to shine out from his backpack. The stone cave that was once buried in darkness was suddenly lit up and became as bright as the outside. Wow. Chapter 39. 3 Types of Flames. Chapter 39. 3 Types of Flames. 3 shining crystals appeared from the bag and brightly lit the cave. One of them was rhombus-shaped, and the other 2 were oval-shaped. They all looked crystal clear and were diffusing waves. Obviously, there was an extraordinary energy hidden within them. Demon crystals. Dialin screamed with joy. Ah! Mu Yu Dai shouted after her and said joyfully, Seems we are so lucky that we've been bestowed with demon crystals. If we can get out of the dark forest alive, we could spend the rest of our lives in luxury with these 3 demon crystals. Dialin squatted and began to examine the 3 demon crystals carefully. After a long time, she observed, they must be from level 6 demon beasts, but I can hardly tell what demon beasts they are from. Sister Lan, I have heard that demon beasts can directly absorb the energy in demon crystals. The silver thunder wolf owned these demon crystals. Why didn't take the energy inside of them to strengthen itself? It is said that the silver thunder wolf gave birth to a pup, and the best way for it to grow up is to absorb the energy in demon crystals. If it is true, then I guess the 3 demon crystals from these level 6 demon beasts were prepared by the silver thunder wolf for its pup. Could be. The energy in demon crystals is the best material for alchemists and blacksmiths. They can easily tell what demon beast the demon crystal is from in just one look. 3 demon crystals. We can have 1 each, right? I didn't help, so I can't take 1. Muyu Dai shook her head, and she took a glimpse at Shi Yan, who was training with his eyes closed. I think you two should share them. If it hadn't been for me, you wouldn't have got into trouble. Let's discuss this after he wakes up. Dialin frowned and continued to dig in the bag. With another exclamation, Dialin took out a transparent jade bottle from the bag which was on the ground. She suddenly lost her train of thought as she stared at the red liquid inside. The liquid in the jade bottle was like a flame. As Dialin shook it gently, the flame also danced to the rhythm. Dialin seemed to recall something as she stared at the liquid in the jade bottle. After a long time, Dialin's thin body trembled and she screamed, "Earth Core Flame Essence!" "Congratulations, Sister Lan." Mu Yu Dai was stunned at first. Then she realized something and yelled happily, "Sister Lan, it will benefit you the most." You really harvested a lot from this journey. You have not only awoken your martial spirit, but you've also gotten this Earth Core Flame Essence. Dialin was so delighted that she couldn't help but keep nodding her head excitedly as she shook the jade bottle in her hand. She babbled incoherently. I've never expected that I would be so lucky. It's Earth Core Flame Essence. Just then, Shi Yan finished 3 big circulations after training silently for a long time. He opened his eyes and asked, "This Earth Core Flame Essence, what does it have to do with you?" "What? How come you don't know about Earth Core Flame Essence?" Dialin exclaimed in surprise. "It is common sense. Hell, are you a warrior or not?" Shi Yan was quite indifferent. "I'm all ears." "Do you know there are 3 types of flames? As in sky, earth, and human?" "Not really." "What? You don't even know about that?" "Nope." Dialin shook her head bitterly, for she totally had no idea about Shi Yan. After a short pause, she explained leisurely, "The 3 types of flames refer to human flames, earth flames, and sky flames. Human flames, like my blue magic flame, are the magical flames in human warriors, which is a vital factor for alchemists and blacksmiths to train with. Every high-level alchemist or blacksmith owns a human flame, because only it can raise their skill to the highest." Shi Yan nodded without a reply, and didn't move his eyes away from Dialin. After a short hesitation, Dialin added, "Earth flames and sky flames exist between the earth and sky, such as the Earth Core Flame in the center of the earth and the Volcano Core Flame from the bottom of a volcano, and are formed naturally. The difference between earth flames and sky flames is that the latter has a consciousness." "What does that mean?" Shi Yan was intrigued. "Natural flames without a consciousness are called earth flames, which are regarded as a treasure like precious stones. As for a sky flame, it can think just like humankind. It is immortal and has magical power, which is the most special life entity in this world. Some sky flames were formed at the beginning of the Grace mainland." Though Shi Yan still looked indifferent, this stirred a storm in his mind. He was a foreigner to this world, and all the knowledge he obtained from his own world was totally different from that of this world. Before, he had never thought that these flames could even think and have wisdom. Hearing that, Shi Yan got to know the magical charm of this world more profoundly. In this world, he met many mysterious things which he had never even dreamt of, such as martial spirits, demon beasts, and so forth. So this Earth Core Flame Essence is an earth flame. After thinking for a long while, Shi Yan finally asked, This is the leftover liquid after an earth core flame turned into a sky flame. It's neither earth flame nor sky flame, but something in between. An earth flame can turn into a sky flame. Shi Yan was shocked again. Of course, millions of years is a long time. Over time, earth flames have the chance to gain consciousnesses and turn into a sky flame, but the possibility is very small. Not all earth flames have the chance for evolution. Dialin was amused. But this is the liquid left behind before the earth core flame turned into a sky flame. This liquid is very precious for people owning human flames. How precious! It can enhance the human flame and improve one's martial spirit. Dialin was so joyful that she was almost about to dance. A human flame is from one's body and can't be hotter than the flames in nature. Only top-level warriors can make their human flames as hot as those in the natural world after strengthening them several times. Got it. Shi Yan nodded. So this liquid can enhance your blue magic flame and give it the temperature of an earth flame. That's it. Dialin nodded vigorously and stared at him with her shining eyes. After a hesitation, she said in shame, "Ah, well, don't worry. It's yours." Dialin was delighted. She felt that she gained some extra advantage and wanted to say something. Shi Yan replied peacefully, "Earth core flame essence is of no use for me, and I don't even possess a martial spirit. What do I need it for? Just take it with you. But you can trade for any valuable medicine you want from the 3 medicine kings in Medicine Valley with this liquid." "Well, you keep it then." Shi Yan frowned and said casually, "There was a book on the martial skills of spirit level." Hearing Shi Yan's reminder, Dialin began to search in the bag again, hurriedly. "This is it." Dialin took out a dark yellow ancient book. She glanced at it and said, "I can't read these ancient characters. We need to find some specialist to translate it for us. Let me have a look." Shi Yan asked for the book naturally as he stretched out his hand. The previous owner of Shi Yan's body was a big fan of ancient things. Though he knew nothing about martial arts, he was much better than most so-called scholars in this world when it came to ancient languages and historic sites. Shi Yan took a glimpse at the ancient letters on the book cover as soon as he got the reddish ancient book and mumbled the word naturally, gravitational field. Chapter 40, Sharing the Treasure. Chapter 40, Sharing the Treasure. You know these ancient letters? Dialin couldn't help but shout in surprise. "Yeah, just a little." Shi Yan nodded, but he didn't take a closer look at the contents of the book. He just held the book in his arms casually and said with a cool voice, "You take the bottle of Earth Core Flame Essence, and I will take this practice book for spirit level martial skills." Dialin nodded to show her agreement. The bottle of Earth Core Flame Essence was indeed extremely precious for her. She was already on top of the world with that little bottle of liquid in her hand. But what about these 3 demon crystals? After a while, Dialin asked again. And this time, while she was talking, she gave a quick glimpse to Mu Yu Dai on her side, with a pretty complicated message in her eyes. Shi Yan had already got his book of spirit-level martial skill, which was obviously worth millions. However, until now, only Mu Yu Dai hadn't got anything. Those 3 demon crystals were apparently not as valuable as the Earth Core Flame Essence or the skill book. Therefore, Dialin intended to give those demon crystals to Mu Yu Dai. However, she was worried that Shi Yan might be against this decision. That's why she said this, to gauge Shi Yan's reaction. "Then give them to Miss Mu. I'm okay with that." Of course Shi Yan knew what Dialin was up to. He said calmly, "We cannot leave Miss Mu with nothing. We have both got what we want. How about giving those 3 demon crystals to Miss Mu?" "Sure, I'm also fine with this." Dialin smiled with satisfaction. She was quite glad to see Shi Yan being so understanding and considerate. Mu Yu Dai looked a little surprised at Shi Yan's words. She stared at Shi Yan for a moment, and then shook her head and replied with an awkward smile, I didn't do anything helpful and have been depending on your protection all this time. I cannot take these 3 demon crystals. Die! Dialin wanted to say something, but hesitated. No, I cannot take them. Mu Yu Dai looked pretty determined. She shook her head firmly and started to tease herself. I have become a burden for you. You almost lost your lives protecting me. How can I take these 3 demon crystals? Sister Lan, Ding Yan, I know you are being very kind to me, but I would feel ashamed to take these demon crystals. Then just take one of them. Sure, Yen said after some hesitation. Anyway, you must take one of these demon crystals. We cannot take such advantage of you. Yes, at least take one of them. Dialin also insisted. Seeing the 2 of them both insisting on this, Muyu Dai found it very hard to deny their kindness any more. She nodded after some hesitation and said, Well, thanks a lot for your generosity. Sure, Yen stopped talking and closed his eyes again, going back to operate the profound qi inside his body for recovery. When he cleared his mind and concentrated on the inside, he could clearly feel the changes going on in his body. He didn't know why, but somehow, just by sitting there, he could feel the pain and soreness in his muscles were quickly disappearing. Sure, Yin cleared his mind and focused himself completely on the changes his body was going through. Suddenly, there was a flash of lightning in his mind. His spirit suddenly lit up, and it seemed he had realized something. This is the immortal martial spirit. Inside his body, his flesh, muscles, bones, veins, organs, and entrails were all undergoing subtle changes. The immortal martial spirit had been secretly repairing his body in a way that he could never understand. His weakness, due to breaking out of rampage, was also gradually returning to normal. Shi Yen was extremely surprised. He realized that the immortal martial spirit could not only recover his wounds, but also offset most of the side effects that he had been suffering from rampage. Without the help of the immortal martial spirit, he was almost certain that he would be unable to confront any opponents for the next 3 days after using rampage. However, thanks to the immortal martial spirit, this was no longer the case. With the help of the immortal martial spirit, the soreness and fatigue in his body was slowly disappearing. Judging from the condition of his body right now, it would at most take 1 more day for him to recover half of his power. There would be no problem for him to engage in another fight with the enemy then. However, just at that moment when he was gloating in secret, a sudden strong wave of evil and crazy killing intent flared up from the bottom of his heart. This explosion of his negative energy was as fierce as a tsunami and was more destructive than ever. Streams of energy mixed with desperation, fear, and resentment were rushing out from the meridians all over his body. They had transformed into waves of spiritual power, roaring through his mind, corrupting his thoughts with an overwhelming force, and altering his morals and personality. This time he had absorbed the profound qi from all 4 nascent warriors, as well as the 2 warriors of the human level. When the 6 of them breathed their last breath, Shuryen was right there with them in this stone cave. Therefore, he had captured all the profound qi coming from the 6 warriors without missing a drop, which was way thicker and stronger than all the profound qi that he had absorbed before. Therefore, the backlash this time was also fiercer than ever. Although Shuryen was still sitting there, his breath started to get heavier and heavier, and his body started to tremble slightly. His body was wrapped in a thick web of killing intent, making him appear even more evil to the others. After a few minutes, he guessed that he couldn't resist this force anymore. He suddenly opened his eyes and stared at Di Yalin with desire burning in his eyes. He said in a very low voice, "I'm having that weird thing happen to my body again." Di Yalin was stunned for 1 moment, and then quickly blushed all of a sudden. She said to Muyu Dai in a low voice, "Dai, you turn around and don't look." Muyu Dai's face also quickly went red. She bit her lips a little, turned to the entrance of the cave with her back towards those two people and said, "You two be quiet. Please don't draw the attention of those demon beasts here. I'll be staying here at the entrance." Yalin answered with a very low voice and then quickly threw herself into Yan's arms. Shortly after, inside the cave, a slapping rhythm could be heard. After a long time, with a deep moaning and trembling of the body, Yan released his climax inside Yalin's body. From the meridians all over his body, there suddenly sprung streams of magical power. This strange power was wandering around inside his body randomly, with only a small part of it shooting into Yalin's body together with his essence. Most of this strange power was still rushing and bumping around inside his veins and vessels, filling his entire body. Yen suddenly opened his eyes. He pulled up his pants and left Yalin, who was still enjoying her moment of bliss, lying on the ground. He quickly went towards Mu Dai and said, "Miss Mu, quick, come here." Mu Dai was completely shocked by his actions and couldn't help moving back. Her pretty face instantly went pale. She cried out with horror, "No, don't come close. The magical power inside my body has just spilled out a little." Yen was moving towards Mu Dai with a heavy panting and said impatiently, "I am trying my best to control it right now. Let me try and see if I can share some of it with you in order to help you recover your broken veins and muscles inside your body." "No way." Mu Dai started screaming, No, I'm not ready yet. I don't want to do that with you. Don't come close." "I didn't mean that." Yen roared with a low voice. He could feel the magical power split into dozens of streams, roaming around inside his body across his muscles, veins, flesh, and blood, nurturing his martial spirits and profound qi in his abdomen, respectively. With this speed, before long, this magical power would be dispersed all over his body and absorbed entirely. Yen was concentrating more than ever right now. He forcibly blocked a small part of this strange power inside his arm. He was hanging onto this magical power very tightly and planned to inject this part of the power into Mu Dai's body through the spillover of his profound qi. Seeing Mu Dai continuously backing away, Yen got extremely impatient. He suddenly took a step forward and grabbed Mu Dai tightly into his arms. With the soft and nicely curved body of Mu Dai suddenly taken into his arms, a refreshing and sweet fragrance instantly kissed his face tenderly, making his spirit excited all of a sudden. "Let go of me." Mu Dai didn't buy Yan's theory at all. She was hitting Yan's chest intensely with her little fists and struggling with all her might. However, with all of her veins and muscles broken, she couldn't manage to use her profound qi smoothly. With all her power being void, she was no different from a weak, fragile little girl and couldn't break out of Yan's arms even a little. "Stop struggling. Just be quiet." Yen locked up his arms even tighter and forced her delicious and delicate body tightly against his own, leaving her no room to struggle. At that moment, Yen made the magical power inside his arms quickly rush towards his wrists, all the way through his palms and into the veins and muscles on Mu Dai's back. "Now, try your best to move this power to your broken veins and muscles. Quick!" With Mu Dai locked up in his arms, Yen quickly whispered into her delicate ears. Mu Dai's ears twitched a lot, and her sweet body couldn't help trembling. She was silently cursing Yen as a bastard in her heart. However, she clearly felt two strange waves of power flowing into her body through Yan's palms and circling inside the veins and muscles in her back. Under Yan's harsh order, Mu Dai finally became quiet and stopped her struggling. She started to make her best efforts to feel the magical power inside her body, take control of it, and use it for the recovery of her broken veins and muscles. Holding Mu Dai tightly in his arms, feeling the delicious curves of her body, smelling the sweet fragrance from her body, Shi Yan was suddenly distracted and starting to entertain some dirty thoughts in his mind. He couldn't help the excitement coming from his lower body. Ah! Mu Yu Dai screamed with embarrassment. She said in a hurry with a blushed face, "Let go of me now! You acting like this. I cannot calm myself down." "Well, I will let you go for now." Shi Yan knew that this was not the right time for him to take advantage of her. He nodded and slightly kissed Mu Yu Dai's cheek. "I will take this as a reward for offering you this magical power as a gift." After these words, Shi Yan released Mu Yu Dai from his arms and took a few steps back. He then sat down against the stone wall and slowly closed his eyes. Mu Yu Dai's entire face was completely red. She was both embarrassed and annoyed at the same time. She glared at Shi Yan with anger and cursed, "You dirty bastard!" After this, with her beautiful bosoms heaving up and down, Mu Yu Dai took a few deep breaths before finally calming down. She understood that given this critical situation, she couldn't afford to waste any time on blaming Shi Yan. She also quickly sat down and tried to use the magical power that she got from Shi Yan to restore the broken veins and muscles inside her body. Chapter 41. The Third Sky of Nascent Level. Chapter 41. The Third Sky of Nascent Level. It was silent outside the valley. The demon beasts had left a long time ago. It was already daytime, as the sunlight filtered into the cave through thick bushes like fire. The three were training cross-legged on the ground with steady breaths. Not knowing how much time had passed, Shi Yan woke up from the serenity. He stood up, stretched his neck, and tried to move his body. The third sky of nascent level. With a deep breath, Shi Yan felt refreshed, and his fatigue disappeared at once, while his senses became much more accurate. With the help of the magical power, Shi Yan's training speed advanced as fast as a shooting arrow, and he increased to the third sky of nascent level at once. Standing at the entrance of the cave, he was dimly able to perceive the spiritual scent between the sky and the earth. He couldn't smell the spiritual scent in the air before, but now it was all so clear to him that he could sense it easily. To perceive the spiritual scent in the air was something only third sky of nascent level warriors could manage. Once he perceived the spiritual scent, he could train his martial skills faster with its help. As soon as he willed it, his body turned as hard as iron immediately, while his skin turned dark brown and was covered with a vague black light which was similar to the state when he operated his black light shield. Air. Shi Yan was a little surprised. After a careful examination, he was certain that he wasn't even utilizing his black light shield with profound qi. This was to say, the dark light covering the skin was merely the reaction to reaching the second stage of petrification martial spirit. He smiled after further examination, knowing that the magical change to his skin must have something to do with his martial spirit. It was rather bright in the cave now. Shi Yan's black eyes blinked and began to wander to Mu Yu Dai and Di Yalin's bodies. Mu Yu Dai and Di Yalin were still sitting on the ground, cross-legged with tightly closed eyes. There was a vague light moving around their bodies, as their profound qi operated in their bodies along specific paths. He had injected part of the magical power into Mu Yu Dai's body, because he wanted to know if this magical power could be passed on to others without sexual intercourse. And also he wanted more help. He was not sure how many foes he would meet during the upcoming journey. It would affect their travel if Mu Yu Dai still needed protection. As Di Yalin had said, Mu Yu Dai was also a warrior before her tendons broke. If Mu Yu Dai recovered, it would be very beneficial for their journey ahead. Because of those thoughts, he gave that small part of the magical power to her. Holding his breath, Shi Yan focused his attention on Mu Yu Dai. Suddenly, he felt a strong, profound qi circulating in her body. A little surprised, he couldn't help but take several glances at her. After a further thought, he got even more confused. To his amazement, Mu Yu Dai's profound qi was more refined than Di Yalin's, which meant Mu Yu Dai was a higher level than Di Yalin. Shi Yan was really shocked. He knew Mu Yu Dai was a warrior too, but he thought she was no more than nascent level. After all, Mu Yu Dai was much younger than Di Yalin. Thus there was no way she could be a higher-leveled warrior than Di Yalin. But it turned out to be quite the opposite. Shi Yan finally realized that Mu Yu Dai was already a human-level warrior at such young age. It was an entire level higher than Di Yalin. As he was standing there stunned, he acutely felt that Mu Yu Dai's profound qi was calming down gradually. He knew that Mu Yu Dai was about to wake up. As expected, before long, Mu Yu Dai's eyelashes shook and she opened her eyes slowly. Two clean and bright eyes suddenly observed the cave, and Mu Yu Dai's delicate little face lit up. She looked like an extremely beautiful and attractive angel in the wood. Shi Yan was dumbstruck as he gazed at such a beautiful creature. He couldn't even think straight. Done staring. Mu Yu Dai looked indifferent as she stood up slowly. After stretching herself, she chuckled. From now on, I'm not your burden anymore. Streams of thin white light flew out from her arms as she was stretching her body. The light soon disappeared in the air. As Mu Yu Dai moved her fingers slowly in the air, the light showed up again little by little and began to shuttle between her smooth fingers. I haven't played my zither for so long. Need a practice now. Mu Yu Dai smiled. That smile was like a clean brook in a valley, serene, empty, and intoxicating. You are much prettier than before. Gazing at her for a long while, Shi Yan uttered. With her veins connected and the profound qi of the top of human level flowing in the body, her skin became extremely translucent, while her face turned rosy and her eyes brightened. Mu Yu Dai looked so confident that nothing in the world could terrify her. With her strength regained, Mu Yu Dai seemed to have turned into another person that she was much more attractive than before. At this moment, in Shi Yan's eyes, Mu Yu Dai was literally far prettier than Di Yalin and Mo Yinyu. Both her level and temperament transcended those two girls. Thanks. Mu Yu Dai smiled casually. How long has it been? 2 days, I guess. Shi Yan hesitated. I'm not sure either. I just feel that we have stayed in the cave for more than 1 day. You recovered? Yes. Mu Yu Dai nodded confidently. Let's leave this cave and set off after Sister Lan wake up. Okay. Shi Yan replied casually and felt a little bitter. Before, though Mu Yu Dai was too naive and too kind, she was quite adorable, just like a lovely little sister. Though Mu Yu Dai became more attractive after regaining her energy, her cuteness disappeared, and on the contrary, she made Shi Yan feel some holiness from her, which made Shi Yan a little disappointed. Disappointed, Shi Yan didn't bother to say anything. Instead, he walked out of the cave and began to wander in the valley. Taking out the book Gravitational Field on Spirit Level Martial Skills out of his bag, he turned the pages randomly. Without reading it carefully, he put the book into the bag scrupulously. He was now sure that there were letters in the book. Spirit Level Martial Skills could only be trained by warriors of at least Earth level. But he was just a nascent level warrior now, which was a long way from Earth level. Without advancing, to train with the Spirit Level Martial at a low warrior level would only disturb one's mind. Because of that reason, Shi Yan put the book away after he was assured it was authentic. A half-day later, Di Yalin and Mu Yu Dai walked out of the cave together. They were clean, dressed, and high-spirited, ready to set off. Kid, thank you. I've stabilized my level now, Di Yalin said loudly after she got out. It was rather dangerous a short time after one reached a new level. The warrior needed strengthen his profound qi as soon as possible, or he would be hurt in fights and training while his level was still unstable. The essence from Shi Yan took effect again in Mu Yu Dai's body, which stabilized her level and enabled her to fight without any fear of backlash. Well then, let's set off. Not intending to boast, Shi smiled naturally and guided them out of the valley. 7 days later, the three of them finally stepped out of the enormous dark forest. Looking at the huge ancient trees behind them, they all felt themselves lucky survivors of a disaster. In those 7 days, they never got into any danger. The warriors and mercenaries in the dark forest had either died or were wounded, not daring to stay in that dangerous area. The demon beasts led by the Silver Thunderwolf had also calmed down and didn't show up again. Since the demon beasts and mercenaries were quiet, their journey became magically smooth. Without meeting any obstacles, they went through the most dangerous area and stepped out of the dark forest. They need to pass Silent Town if they were going to the Merchant Union, and they must cross the wide stone woods to get to the Silent Woods. The stones in the stone woods were all grotesque in shape, which were either as big as a mountain or as small as a human. In addition, there were also many stone caves which were natural shelters. There were always brutal warriors lurking in the stone woods, killing and trading. Those walking out of the dark forest were trade caravans or warriors and mercenaries who were seeking adventure. Merchants from foreign countries must have goods with them, while those adventurous warriors and mercenaries who could get out of the dark forest alive must have medicines and materials from demon beasts. These people all had something valuable with them. Therefore, there were people hiding in the stone woods for years, who would show up if they found their prey was weak and harvest their goods after a nasty slaughter. Thus, sometimes the stone woods were more dangerous than the dark forest. A single man who stepped into it, unless he was a disaster-level warrior, would always get into trouble. The stone woods is very dangerous. Maybe the people from the dark world are lurking there, Dialin thought for a while and reminded Muyudai. Someone will come to our aid in the stone woods, no worries. Muyudai smiled and looked back at Shiryan. You are going into the stone woods. Yup, I'm from the Merchant Union. Of course, I will go back there. Shiryan replied. Good, then let's go there together. You will be safe with us in the stone woods. Muyudai looked confident, and before Shiryan replied, she added, Let's go into the stone woods. Don't worry, we are safe now. Okay, Shiryan replied, though he didn't relax. Once they stepped into the stone woods, he was always on alert. From the memories of the other Shiryan, he knew it was chaos in the stone woods. All the powerful parties were involved in it, including the big families from the Merchant Union. He didn't know what Muyudai had that made her so confident, but he knew they would be killed in an instant if they weren't cautious. Sure, Yen kept calm as he looked around in the woods. Every 5 steps he would turn back and examine carefully. Chapter 42 Departure. Chapter 42 Departure. In the stone woods, beside a giant rock. Emo Chauga, Bernard, and the Crescent Emissary were standing indifferently, seeming to wait for some news. Before long, a star emissary appeared on the stone path far away, who was heading in their direction hurriedly. That star emissary came near and bowed to the Crescent Emissary. Sir, still no trace of them. The Crescent Emissary nodded and waved his hand. Keep watching those passes. Be on alert. Yes, sir. The star emissary, who was in charge of collecting information, stepped back silently and disappeared into the piles of stones. 1 hour later, Big Johnson, who had lost his arm, showed up from another stone path. He walked up to Emo Chauga and gave a salute. No news of them. Well, Emo Chauga nodded. Keep watching. I just don't believe that they won't come out. Third Master, is it possible that they were already killed by the demon beasts in the dark forest? Johnson asked after a hesitation. It is said that the demon beasts in that area went crazy after we left. Many warriors died because of them. They disappeared for so long, maybe they were killed by those demon beasts. Could be. Surprisingly, Emo Chauga didn't oppose, but nodded and said, But if they were not killed by demon beasts and slipped through to the Merchant Union, we can do nothing anymore. You know what I mean? Got it. I will go and watch right now. Johnson was enlightened and left immediately. Frowning, Mo Chowga said to the Crescent emissary next to him, "Let's wait for another month. If they still don't show up, I guess they must have been killed in there. What do you think?" "Well, I agree with you." The Crescent emissary agreed. He thought for a moment and said, "I got the information that the Medicine King Gan Shao and the Silver Thunderwolf are still fighting in the Dark Forest. But since there are too many demon beasts, Gan Shao seemed to begin to withdraw. The demon beasts in the Dark Forest have now all gathered around the Silver Thunderwolf, chasing the Medicine King Gan Shao and his escorts. That battle area is relatively safe now." "You mean they may still be alive?" Mo Chowga asked. "Very likely," the Crescent emissary said. "Many warriors were killed in that region, and those not being killed had been scared out of the forest a long time ago. Therefore, they can easily get out of the forest alive if they are not unlucky." "They'd better be alive." Bernard from the Tush Mercenary Union was filled with hatred as he said coldly, "They will regret being in this world." A cold light flashed in the Crescent emissary's eyes as he said indifferently, "I will take Mu Yu Dai away. Then that skinny boy is mine. He stole something from my Mo family, so I need to get it first. Then you can do whatever you want to him." Mo Chowga took a glimpse at Bernard and said in despise. Bernard kept silent, pondering on something that no one knew. Sher Yen was walking on the jagged stones cautiously, not daring to relax his vigilance. Mu Yu Dai and Di Yaolin were discussing something ahead of him. He couldn't hear them clearly. "Ding Yen." Mu Yu Dai paused abruptly and turned around to look at him. "Yeah." Sher Yen was surprised and relaxed his vigilance a little. "What's the matter?" "You are from the Merchant Union?" Mu Yu Dai hesitated and then asked casually. "Yup." "You trained all by yourself?" "Yup." "You helped me a lot all along the way, so I want to introduce you to someone. If he thinks highly of you, it will be very beneficial for your training. What do you think?" Mu Yu Dai was serious, as her beautiful eyes shone and gazed at him. Sher Yen was shocked at first, and after a long while he shook his head and replied indifferently, "Miss Mu, thank you for your kindness, but I don't like to be restrained." He understood Mu Yu Dai wanted to introduce him to an influential person or to a certain power. In this world, there were many single warriors who were at a very high level and could do whatever they wanted without any help. But most warriors would choose to attach themselves to a certain power or a big family. Those powers and families possessed lots of resources, immense martial skills and training materials, and most importantly, reputed warrior trainers, which could speed up one's training process and step into a higher level. However, those influential powers and families hardly admitted unknown warriors. It was very hard for a warrior to enter a big power without anyone's introduction. Apparently, Mu Yu Dai knew someone influential, and she wanted to thank Sher Yen in that way. It is very hard to train all by yourself. Mu Yu Dai was a little shocked, as she couldn't understand Sher Yen. One could gain rapid advancement only when he joins a strong power and could get help at difficult times. A single warrior tends to be attacked in foreign areas. You understand that? Yes, to train alone has many disadvantages. Dai is very considerate. You still have the chance to reject after meeting that person. Di Yaolin persuaded too. Nope, I'll mind my own business, and I don't want to be anyone's domestic servant. Sure, Yen shook his head firmly. Then whatever. Mu Yu Dai frowned and felt that Sher Yen was being ungrateful, though she didn't insist. Di Yaolin sighed, with a little bit of bitterness. She would go with Mu Yu Dai, and since Sher Yen rejected Mu Yu Dai's invitation, they would depart forever, for there was little chance they would meet again. In the past few days, Sher Yen had already walked into her heart. She was filled with sorrow at the thought of their departure. "Ding Yen, I must go with Dai. You." After a long thought, Di Yaolin couldn't help but plead, as she looked at Shi Yan with regret. "You can go with me." Shi Yan was stunned, then added, "If you are willing to." Dialin looked gloomy as she murmured, "The power behind Dai can not only protect Dai, but also help me increase my ability. Furthermore, Dai has promised me that I will get exorbitant training materials, as well as a weapon of the soul level, and will even have the opportunity to train with spirit-level martial skills." Then fine." Shi Yan replied decidedly, "You have your own pursuit, so do I. And I can't give you what you want. Let's depart as soon as we get to Silent Town." Obviously, Dialin chose Muyu Dai because she thought the power at Mu's back was more beneficial for her, and Muyu Dai really gave her a high price, so she found it hard to refuse. "Ding Yen," Dialin was heartbroken. "I'm sorry." "You don't need to apologize." Shi Yan shook his head and replied indifferently, "We did everything at our own will. We don't owe each other." "You." Dialin was a little angry as she stared at Shi Yan with discontent. Her chest trembled, but then she uttered with a bitter sigh, "However you think about it, I have my own plans. You are too young to understand that." Shi Yan curled his lips and looked at them coldly, not saying a word. "You just don't appreciate it." Muyu Dai grunted. If there isn't a common ground, a single word is a waste of breath. Shi Yan shook his head and walked onto another crossroad without taking a look at the two girls. His back to them, he said coldly, "Goodbye forever." "Ding Yen," Dialin shouted. "Didn't you say we wouldn't depart till we get to Silent Town? Miss Mu is at the third sky of human level, and there will be skillful warriors supporting you in the woods. You don't need to worry anymore. I won't take advantage of that." Shi Yan's sound faded away gradually, and so did his figure. "This arrogant guy will get into trouble someday." Muyu Dai shook her head. "One has to learn to yield sometimes in this world, or it will be hard to survive, especially for us warriors." Dialin was so disappointed. "I'm so worried about him. Why not just go with us? Why did he refuse?" "Never mind. Stop worrying. We all will be in the Merchant Union, and will get the chance to meet again." Muyu Dai comforted her. "Sister Lan, though we are women, we have a mission to make our family prosper and avenge Uncle Luo and our friends. We have to depend on a big power and complete our mission." After a short pause, some mixed emotions crossed her eyes. Muyu Dai recalled the days when they were traveling with Shi Yan and that mind-blowing kiss with him in that cave. But eventually, she shook her head firmly, seeming to get rid of Shi Yan's shadow in her mind. And him, just let him be a beautiful memory in our lives. She seemed to say that to herself. "He is not that bad, almost human level, and he is so young," Dialin mumbled. "It will take at least 10 years for him to advance to disaster or earth level, and even longer to get to nirvana and sky. We don't have that much time. Furthermore, he is on his own, without any strong support. Well, fine. I hope we made the right choice. I've never made a mistake." Chapter 43, Biming Family. Chapter 43, Biming Family. In the Stone Woods. Mo Yenyu was leaning her plump behind against an oval rock under the hot sun. Frowning slightly, she seemed to be deep in thought. A Mo family escort with a plain and pimply face was standing next to her and was also deep in thought while narrowing his eyes. The sound of inconsistent, heavy steps gradually came from afar. Mo Yenyu opened her eyes and fluttered her eyelashes. She glanced at Johnson, who was rapidly running towards her, and coldly reproached, "Why are you in such a hurry?" "We've spotted them." Johnson answered with a twisted face, "2 girls. According to the star emissary, that's who we want." Mo Yenyu's adorable eyes suddenly lit up while her expression calmed down. "Is the boy with them too?" "Seems not." After a short pause, Johnson said calmly, "We will know where the boy is once we catch the girls." Had third uncle got this message? One of our star emissaries had been sent for him. In which direction? Emo Yenyu stood her beautiful body upright and stretched her limbs slowly. Are they further away from us or third uncle? Further away from us. If everything goes, well, the third master and his people should arrive here soon. Johnson replied, Well then, let's not worry about it right now. Emo Yenyu frowned as she talked to the pimply Emo family escort next to her. Uncle Lee, do we need to go up there and meet them? No hurry. Our target hasn't shown up yet. Li Han smiled and shook his head. Third master and the people from the dark world are all there, so it will be fine. This pass is very crucial as well. We'd better stay on high alert. Our goal is that boy. All our previous efforts will go to waste if that boy slips away. That makes sense. Emo Yenyu nodded, without saying anything else. Woo-woo-woo, woo-woo-woo. While stopping beside a snake-shaped rock, Muyu Dai took out a silver horn and began to blow it. The sound of the horn rippled away like waves to faraway places. Figures hiding in every corner of the stone woods came out one after another after they heard the horn, quickly rushing in the direction of Muyu Dai. Sister Lan, don't worry. Some people will come to our rescue. Muyu Dai smiled lightly. We are really safe here. No need to worry about the dark world. Hopefully, Dialin barely smiled. She couldn't settle down as she was worried about Shiryen. She sighed, I hope he is fine. Shortly after, shadows appeared one after the other from far away. The man in the lead turned out to be the Crescent emissary from the dark world, and beside him were Emo Chowga and Bernard, as well as several other Emo family warriors and star emissaries. Miss Mu, nice to meet you again. The Crescent emissary's vicious eyes were wandering over Muyu Dai's body like a cunning snake. His voice was like ice. You nearly managed a perfect escape, but too bad. Unfortunately for you, you didn't quite make it to the Merchant Union. You will instead be taken away by me. Really? Muyu Dai smiled calmly, showing no fear. The Crescent emissary frowned and was confused. Muyu Dai was too calm at this time. This was too abnormal. Where is that young guy who was hanging around with you? Emo Chowga came over, glanced at the girls, and said coldly, Tell me where the boy is, or I will kill her first. Emo Chowga pointed at Dialin. She is mine. Bernard angrily stared at Emo Chowga, then flashed over to Dialin like lightning and stretched his hand towards her. Treeing. Noise from a zither rang out suddenly. The sound was like a sharp weapon, lightly cutting into one's nerves. Bernard quivered, and his face suddenly twisted in pain. He stepped back quickly and stared at Muyu Dai in astonishment. Holding her zither, Muyu Dai had already sat down. She looked at Bernard with a cold expression on her face. You want to try again? Bernard's brain felt like it was being stabbed by a steel needle, and he felt like his head was splitting. Hearing that, his face became even more distorted, but he didn't dare step up again. That's impossible. The Crescent emissary's face twisted and showed panic for the first time. It has only been a few weeks. Your music martial spirit shouldn't have recovered so soon. After a pause, he seemed to remember something and sneered. I know. You forced yourself to operate your broken veins. You are seeking death. Oh. Muyu Dai replied indifferently. Maybe you can give it a try? I know you have reached the disaster level, but if you could remember, you should know that I killed a Crescent emissary at the same level as you with my music martial spirit before we entered the dark forest. This not only made the Crescent emissary hesitate, but also made both Bernard and Emo Chowga also panic. They stared at her with an unbelievable look in their eyes. Emissary, this is it true? Emo Chowga felt his mouth go dry, and he took several steps back. He made a gesture to tell the Emo family warriors not to take action. She could do that if she is in a good condition, but now I don't buy it. The Crescent emissary grunted. Haha, emissary, it's up to you. Mo Chowga retracted further and stood amongst the Mo family warriors, showing that they were not going to take the initiative. Whoever comes up first dies first. Mu Yu Dai said coldly, and then turned her head away, not bothering to say anything more. Dialin was standing beside her on alert with a stony face. Suddenly, all was silent. Though suspicious, the Crescent emissary didn't take action blindly. At the same time, Bernard and Mo Chowga quieted down after they heard that Mu Yu Dai was capable of killing a disaster-level warrior. They made eye contact with the Crescent emissary to urge him to test Mu Yu Dai. At that moment, shadows appeared from all directions from the surrounding rocks. A tall man suddenly stood beside Mu Yu Dai and said softly, "Miss Mu, how are you?" Everyone in the area, including the Crescent emissary, Mo Chowga and Bernard, who were all disaster-level warriors, couldn't figure out how he appeared. That man just appeared next to Mu Yu Dai like a ghost. Martial spirit of teleportation. Biming family. Mo Chowga screamed in shock. "Look who we have here, the Mo family." The handsome young man beside Mu Yu Dai looked around in arrogance and said coldly, "Huh? You want to fight with my Biming family? We dare not." Mo Chowga took a deep breath and calmed down. He said to the young man politely, "It's the third young master." No wonder Miss Mu was so confident. "Third young master, I didn't know that Miss Mu was protected by the Biming family. If I knew that earlier, I wouldn't have bothered coming here. Please forgive me, third young master." Biming Su waved his hand and said impatiently, "If it's none of the Mo family's business, just leave with your people. Don't get involved. I'm going to clean up the dark world." As he was talking, warriors wearing Biming uniforms arrived one by one. Two old men, one thin and the other fat, stood next to him silently and fixed their cold eyes on Mo Chowga and the Crescent emissary separately. "Well then, I will take my leave." Mo Chowga smiled respectfully and left at once. The Mo family warriors turned quiet after they saw Biming Su and left immediately with Mo Chowga. As for Bernard, he stepped back and was about to run away into the stone woods. Mu Yu Dai touched her zither softly and said, "Third young master, please kill that guy." Treeing. The sound of the zither rang out. Bernard's body quivered heavily and he almost fell down. He jumped behind a rock immediately and ran as fast as hell. "Old Een, please," Biming Su ordered softly. The thin old man behind him suddenly rushed out like a ghost and after a moment disappeared. 3 seconds later, Bernard's miserable, horrifying scream came from within the stone woods. 5 minutes later, the thin old man, Old Een, flew back like a ghost and stood still beside Biming Su, all without saying a word. Note from the TL. Hey guys, thank you for reading this excellent novel. And yeah, I know though it's perfect, there's something funny, such as the author sometimes has bad memory that he forgets to make Dialin and Mu Yu Dai call Shurian Ding Yen. And the pinyin die is like the English word die. Haha, anyway, it is an intriguing novel, isn't it? Chapter 44, Silent Town. Chapter 44, Silent Town. Thank you, third young master. Mu Yu Dai stood up and put her zither away slowly. Seeing confusion in the Crescent emissary's eyes, she said, "You never thought you would encounter misfortune after such a long chase, did you?" Biming Su, this is a matter between the Dark World and the Mu family. Your Biming family better not get involved. The Crescent emissary didn't look at Mu Yu Dai, but instead stared at Biming Su. "As long as you allow me to take Miss Mu away, the Lord of the Dark World will reward your Biming family with anything you want." "No need." Biming Su shook his head and said calmly, "Since you're already here, there is no reason for you to return." The two old men behind him quickly flew out again. These two old men flew towards the emissaries like hideous devils. After a few seconds, all the emissaries from the Dark World, including the Crescent emissary, had their chests sliced open and died instantly. Once all the emissaries were killed, the two frightening old men silently flew back to Bai Ming's side like two ghostly shadows. Standing beside Muyu Dai, Dialin was astonished when she saw the miserable deaths of the emissaries. She knew that the Bai Ming family was very influential within the merchant union, but she never thought they were this powerful. The Bai Ming family didn't care about retaliation from the dark world. Therefore, they ruthlessly killed the emissaries. Sister Lan, do you still think we made the wrong decision? Mu Yudai smiled. Di Yalin had a complicated expression on her face. She lightly sighed. No, it's just that. Stop worrying. For our future's sake, it's best to forget about him as soon as possible. Mu Yudai persuaded her softly. Okay. Di Yalin nodded helplessly. Shall we go now? Bai Ming's black eyes wandered over Di Yalin and Mu Yudai for a while as he asked politely. Sure. In another region of the stone woods, as Shi Yan stepped around a corner, he suddenly drew back while on alert. Shoo! A sharp arrow landed in front of him. At the same time, a blue smoke bomb of the Mo family shot up into the sky. It's you again. Reckless. Shi Yan grunted with a stony face. Mo Yenyu appeared from within a stone cave with arrows in her hand. She looked at Shi Yan and said coldly, You've finally shown up. Johnson, with his broken arm, and Li Han also appeared from behind her and blocked Shi Yan from both sides, while watching him cautiously. You are seeking death. Shi Yan shouted and suddenly shot towards Mo Yenyu like a sharp sword. While shooting forward, his body was covered with white smoke and the smell of death. He looked like a terrifying devil. Miss, watch out. Li Han cried out in fear and flew towards Mo Yenyu like lightning. Li Han was at the second sky of human level. Thus he could see Shi Yan's amazing explosiveness. How could Mo Yenyu bear such violent force? Chi-Chi. Shi Yan slammed his foot down and cut a long gouge in the ground. Suddenly, his body changed direction and rushed towards Johnson, moving faster than before. Bang! Before Johnson could even think, he saw a white shadow rushing towards him and an overwhelming power slammed into his body. Kakaka! All of Johnson's bones broke instantly and blood poured from his mouth and eyes. He fell to the ground and moaned miserably. You are Johnson, right? You certainly enjoyed it when you whipped me hard a few days ago. Standing beside Johnson, Shi Yan kicked on Johnson's chest again and again. He smirked. Are you enjoying this now? Huh. Shi Yan continued to kick Johnson until a broken bone in his chest was forced into his heart and he finally ceased to breathe. Brutal. Li Han was shocked. Though he wanted to go and kill Shi Yan, he worried about Mo Yenyu, so he could only hesitate and shout, unable to stop him. Mo Yenyu was horrified. She was dumbstruck after she saw how brutally Johnson was killed. Johnson's profound chi was then quickly absorbed into Shi Yan's meridians in a few seconds. Shi Yan turned around and fixed his bright eyes on Mo Yenyu. Then he smiled coldly. Pretty, we will meet again. And believe me, you will regret what you have done to me. As he finished his sentence, he slipped around a nearby stone and disappeared into the stone woods. Old Li, why didn't you kill him? Mo Yenyu said angrily after Shi Yan disappeared. That guy is at least at the second sky of nascent level. Also, he used such brutal martial arts that could kill in a single move. He moved so fast that I could hardly follow him. If I had moved, he would have come and attacked you, so I was afraid, Li Han said apologetically. Second sky of nascent level. Mo Yenyu held her breath, as fear could be seen in her eyes. She mumbled, It's impossible. There was only a little profound chi in his body 2 months ago. He was merely at the first sky of elementary level. What? Li Han's whole body shook as he looked at her unbelievably. After a long time, he continued, If that's true, miss, in my humble opinion, You have caused a huge problem for the Mo family." Sure, Yen moved quickly through the stone woods, not spending one more second than necessary in any area. He knew that Li Han was a human-level warrior, and since the blue smoke bomb of the Mo family was already in the sky, more people would gather there shortly. He had to escape as soon as possible to avoid any further trouble. Because of his cautiousness, he managed to escape from that dangerous region before Mo Chauga and his people arrived. There didn't seem to be many warriors hiding in the stone woods. He didn't see anyone while he was fleeing, which confused him a little. He guessed this abnormality had something to do with those influential people Mu Dai mentioned. At nightfall, Shi Yan finally got out of the stone woods and was walking towards Silent Town, which was only a very short distance away. He slowed down a little and began to sort through the memories of the previous owner of his body to recall everything he could about the Shi family. He needed the identity of the former master of this body. As one of the 5 biggest families in the Merchant Union, the Shi family was rich in all types of resources such as martial skills, a gravity field training room, rare Chinese medicines, and skillful warrior trainers. He needed to use these advantages to strengthen himself. He had decided when he was at the blood pool that he would go to the Shi family, and that's why he refused Mu Dai's offer. The identity of his body was too special that it would cause a lot of trouble if he attached himself to another power. In addition, a new power wouldn't give him access to the best resources. But it would be totally different if he went to the Shi family. The previous master of his body was the young master of the Shi family. As long as he showed talent, the Shi family would cultivate him at any cost. It would be a total waste if he didn't take advantage of their special resources. Once he reached Silent Town, he walked directly into a shop which was collecting all sort of stones without a second thought and shouted naturally, "Anyone here?" An attendant came up with a wide smile and flattered, "Young Master Yen, you finally returned. The master sent Minister Han to pick you up long ago since you disappeared in the dark forest. Young Master Yen, Minister Han is in the backyard, for he has waited for you for many days. But now, it is a little inconvenient for him to meet. Could you wait for a moment?" The attendant looked towards the backyard with ambiguous eyes. "Never mind. I know what he is doing." Shi Yan walked directly into the backyard of the shop. Several Shi family warriors were gambling in the backyard. At the sight of Shi Yan, they panicked and put the dices away embarrassingly, then greeted loudly, "Young Master Yen!" "Please go on." Shi Yan waved his hands and strode past them to the back room. These warriors were quite surprised since Shi Yan left without scolding them. "What? He didn't reproach us this time. Too strange." "Yes, he used to scold us every time he saw us gambling. Do some actual work. Stop goofing around. How strange that he didn't say anything this time." "Young Master," Yen looked totally different. "It seems that he has developed some manliness. Don't you think so?" "Well, yeah, you have a point." Shi Yan opened the door as he reached the back room and walked in directly. "Uncle Han, when did you arrive here?" Han Zhong was quite shocked. After dressing himself in a hurry, he smiled in embarrassment. "Young Master Yen, when did you come in?" "I've been here for quite a while." Shi Yan smiled, sipped his tea, and waved his hand. "It's okay. If you are not satisfied enough, you can keep going. Besides, I have the chance to learn something from you." "Kakik." Han Zhong coughed strongly for a while, satisfied. "Well, Xiaofeng Xian, you should go back to your business." "Okay, I will take my leave." That young woman dressed herself in bed and then stepped down with a red face. As she walked to the doorway, she suddenly turned back and glared at Shi Yan. "Everybody said young Master Yen from the Shi family is a righteous man. I guess they are all blind. I've never seen such a righteous man before. Humph." She giggled and leered at Shi Yan before moving her hot body out of the room. Chapter 45: The Change. Chapter 45 The Change. As soon as Xiao Fengxian left, Han Zhong became more relaxed right away. After briefly dressing himself, Han Zhong sat down at the table in front of Shi Yan, made a cup of tea, and sipped it. "Young Master Yan, where are your escorts?" "All dead." Shi Yan looked calm as he explained casually. "The demon beasts in the dark forest went insane when hunting the warriors. In order to protect me, they all sacrificed themselves." Han Zhong was rather shocked as he looked at Shi Yan in confusion. "I was more or less aware of the situation. It's so lucky of you to have escaped from it." He had heard the news long ago that the Silver Thunderwolf had gone on a rampage, so he planned to go back to Shi family in half a month, since he assumed that he wouldn't be able to find Shi Yan alive. He couldn't believe that Shi Yan walked out of the dark forest unscathed. It was so intense in the dark forest that even experienced warriors had been killed. But Shi Yan, who was a nerd, had somehow managed to survive. This completely surprised Han Zhong. Han Zhong didn't really like the former master of Shi Yan's body. That guy didn't train in martial arts and was very old-fashioned. He loved to look into things that no one else in the Shi family liked. Han Zhong couldn't understand that. Now, if it weren't for Shi Jian's order and the fact that he happened to be in Silent Town, he wouldn't have been here waiting for Shi Yan. "Yes, you certainly did have good luck." Shi Yan nodded as he smiled naturally. Then he asked indifferently, "Uncle Han, when are we returning home?" "It's up to you, young Master Yan. Actually, I'm desperate to leave, for I have something to report to the family head. I would have returned days ago if it weren't for you." Han Zhong paused and answered boldly. While he was talking, Han Zhong couldn't help but begin to examine Shi Yan. He didn't notice it at first, but after a careful examination, he realized something was different about him. Shi Yan was much skinnier than before, and his round face had become angular and more masculine. Sitting there naturally, Shi Yan's kept his back upright, and his body was like a sharp sword, which made him seem quite hard-edged. That wasn't the only change in his appearance. The former Shi Yan only lit up when he was researching historic relics. He was often listless on an average day. But now the guy before Han Zhong had deep bright eyes and seemed to be deep in thought all the time, sending out the impression that he knew everything. "Uncle Han, may I ask you something?" Under Han Zhong's gaze, Shi Yan continued easily, "It is surprisingly quiet in the stone woods these days. Do you know what's happening?" "Well, the Baiming family sent people there. It is said that they were meeting someone in the stone woods. Therefore the warriors who were wandering in the stone woods all left upon hearing that." The Baiming family. Who was in the lead? Shi Yan realized something. Baiming Su. Han Zhong began to curse after he answered Shi Yan. "That guy is said to have reached disaster level half a year ago. Damn, he is only 27 years old, and he has twin martial spirits. Madness. I'm already 45 and still at the second sky of disaster level. It's unfair. 25 years old, first sky of disaster level, twin martial spirits." Shi Yan stiffened as he suddenly realized that Bai Ming-su was the person Mu Yu Dai had planned to introduce him to. That man has a rare talent and reached that level at such a young age. In addition, he came from the number 1 family in the Merchant Union, the Baiming family. No wonder Mu Yu Dai and Diaolin chose him. Silently, Shi Yan smirked to himself, and an icy glint could be seen in his eyes. 25 years old, disaster level, twin martial spirits. That's very unbelievable. Not exactly. He was someone who had reached the 3rd sky of nascent level from the 1st sky of elementary level in mere 2 months. Despite the petrification and immortal martial spirits, he also possessed another vicious and mysterious martial spirit. In comparison, he had much more potential than Bai Ming-su. Time. I only need some time to surpass Bai Ming-su. Shi Yan thought to himself, "Young Master Yan, you've got profound qi in your body." Han Zhong's eyes lit up, and he gazed at Shi Yan seriously. I can feel that there is profound qi flowing in your body, and it is incredibly dense. Young Master Yan, what on earth happened to you? Shi Yan took a deep breath, trying to suppress his indignation. Yes, I've got profound qi, so I'm a warrior now. Which level? Han Zhong couldn't wait. Nascent level. What? The Merchant Union, Tianyin City, the Shi family, the training field. The training field of Shi family extended tens of miles and was covered with ancient trees and odd rocks. There were also water pools, sand fields, earth fields, and wooden rooms within the training field. With complicated refuges and barriers everywhere, the members of Shi family were able to conduct live combat exercises. And they could also learn to adjust and fight in all sorts of topographies. At the time being, in the center of the training field, stood a huge diamond-shaped testing jade. The third generation of Shi family were in a queue, walking towards the jade. They put their hand on the testing jade and sent out profound qi to test their level. Shi Tianluo, 21, the second sky of nascent level. Shi Tianshao, 25, the first sky of nascent level. Shi Tianling, 27, the third sky of elementary level. Shi Tianka, 20, the second sky of nascent level. Shi Tianyin, 19, the third sky of nascent level. Han Feng, who was standing beside the testing jade with his eyes narrowed, yelled out after every young member finished his test. Every time Han Feng announced the result, the members of the first and second generations changed their expression accordingly, either happy or disappointed. Second brother, your Tianyin is really something. He managed to advance to a higher stage. Shi Kuo was a little angry as he grunted. Tinka has been too lazy recently. I have to do something. Third brother, Tinka trains really hard. I saw him training in the gravitational room at midnight. Don't pressure him too much, or it could go the opposite way. Shi Gang comforted him. Tianyin, work harder. Advance to human level as soon as possible. Shi Tai's sound was like a great bell as he said, proudly. Shi Tai was Shi Jian's brother, and Shi Gang and Shi Kuo were his sons. Shi Tianyin was Shi Gang's son and thus Shi Tai's grandson. Shi Tai was delighted as he saw that Shi Tianyin had advanced. The position of family head was decided by one's martial level. Many years ago, Shi Tai lost his brother, so he was rather unhappy and hoped that his grandson, Shi Tianyin, could transcend Shi Jian's grandson, Shi Tianshao. The petrification martial spirit was very special and only went to the first two children of a couple. The third child would rarely have the chance to inherit it. That's why every small family of Shi would generally only have two children. Even the head of the Shi family, Shi Jian, only had two children, Shi Yang and Shi Qing. Shi Yang had a daughter, Shi Tianling, and a son, Shi Tianshao. Shi Qing and Yang Hai only had one son, and that was Shi Yan. Thus, Shi Tianling, Shi Tianshao, and Shi Yan were Shi Jian's grandchildren, while Shi Tianyin, Shi Tianluo, and Shi Tianka were Shi Tai's grandchildren. The members of Shi family all got along well with each other. They stuck together and worked hard to increase the influence of their family. But no matter how close they were, they still competed with each other. Such as Shi Tai, he always wanted to surpass Shi Jian through his grandson. As his sons, Shi Gang and Shi Kuo, were not comparable to Shi Jian's son, Shi Yang. He had given up passing his dream on to them. Luckily, his grandsons, Shi Tianyin and Shi Tianka, were more talented than Shi Tianshao. He was rather proud every time they did the test, although it was without any bad intentions. Yan Hai was standing next to Shi Yang as he was explaining the state of their quarry to the latter. Hearing Shi Tai's yell, Shi Yang got serious. Well, second uncle is about to show off again. After a pause, he glanced at Sher Tianshao, who was standing beside him, and scolded, "You little bastard! You only cause me to lose face." I'm not that bad." Sher Tianshao drew his head back and looked miserable. Yan Hai's face became bitter as he sighed. "You should be satisfied. Think about my Sher Yan. At least Tianshao is a warrior. But that bastard fools around all day and hasn't come back yet. Who knows how much trouble he will bring back this time." "Ha, that's true." Sher Yang laughed. The descendants of Sher family were all gathered together on the training field and were discussing lively. Just then, an eagle appeared in the sky and settled down on Sher Jian's shoulder. Sher Jian picked up a little gray bag from the eagle's claw and took out a letter. Opening the letter casually, he began to read, and he frowned. They were all his relatives, so he didn't intend to hide anything. After merely one glance, Sher Jian couldn't help but cry out with an amazed look on his face. The people on the field were surprised and became quiet. They looked at Sher Jian and wondered why he was acting so weird. "Big brother, what's up?" Sher Tai frowned and asked loudly, "Is the Mo family making a fuss again? Damn, they won't quiet down if we don't give them a good kick." "Nope." Sher Jian put down the letter excitedly as he said in surprise, "Han Zhong found Sher Yan. How is that bastard?" Upon hearing that, Yan Hai finally settled down. He asked with an annoyed face, seemingly planning on giving Sher Yan a lesson when he returned. "That kid is a warrior now." Sher Jian looked shocked as his mouth trembled. He was trying to hide his excitement. "What?" Sher Tai couldn't help but cry out. "He is 17. Why did he begin to train at such an old age?" After thinking, he sighed lightly as he really felt sorry for Sher Yan. It's too late, starting at 17. I guess he won't achieve anything in his life. What was that little bastard doing before now? If he had been training since he was born, he could have reached the second or third sky of nascent level, even if he doesn't possess the martial spirit of Sher family. That kid is now at the third sky of nascent level. Sher Jian answered firmly with sharp eyes. Chapter 46, A Glance. Chapter 46, A Glance. Half a month later in Tianyin City, Sher Yan and Han Zhong, as well as a troop of warriors from the Sher family, were entering the city at a leisurely pace. A ground dragon was carrying the goods they had purchased from Silent Town. Sher Yan and Han Zhong were at the head of the troop and had talked all the way. "Old Han, it's getting late. Let's continue for home tomorrow. We should rest somewhere in the city today, okay?" Sher Yan said leisurely. "Well, where does Brother Yan want to stay?" Han Zhong smiled with an ambiguous look on his face. Tianyin City is the biggest city in the Merchant Union, with a large population of several millions. The recreation centers in this city are much better quality than those in the small cities we passed. Well, Old Han, since you are familiar with this area, you lead the way. I'm afraid my remaining crystal coins are not enough. We will spend cost a lot at some places. Old Han, you want to take advantage of me again? Last time in the Scent Pavilion, you pretended to be drunk and made me pay for everything. Now you want to do that again? I was truly drunk that time. You are treating me unjustly. I don't care. You have to pay this time, or I will tell Uncle Han Feng everything you did on the way. No, Brother Yan, it's my treat. My treat, okay? Han Zhong faked a miserable face and sighed. You know my brother's temper too well. If he knows what I did, he will kick me to death. Oh my, I'm so miserable. I work so hard for the family and earn so little money that I can barely even afford my recreation time. Deal. It's your treat tonight. Sher Yan looked back and shouted to the warriors behind him. Fellows, you all heard that, right? Yes, we heard it. All 7 warriors of Sher family yelled excitedly at the same time. Let's go. Sher Yan mingled well with Han Zhong and those warriors in that half a month. Shi Yan was not pretentious at all as he ate and interacted happily with the warriors. And he was very open when it came to women, for he never chickened out in brothels, sometimes being even more audacious and horny than Han Zhong once he met a lovely girl. The two of them went to a lot of brothels together along the way. They paid in turns and never let the warriors use any money. In a very short time, Shi Yan won the trust of Han Zhong and his escorts. Han Zhong thought they shared the same interests and complimented Shi Yan on the fact that he had grown up. As his level increased, Shi Yan had become a totally different person. Shi Yan concealed most of what had happened to him in the dark forest. He told Han Zhong that he found a certain type of red fruit in the ancient cave he was studying. After eating 3 such fruits, he got profound qi and awoke the petrification martial spirit of Shi family. He didn't mention a word about the blood pool, the immortal martial spirit, or the mysterious martial spirit, nor the story between him and Mo Yanyu and Muyu Dai. Though Han Zhong was very surprised by Shi Yan's magical story, he didn't keep asking, but thought that Shi Yan was incredibly lucky to find that fruit which made him stronger. And during these days, Shi Yan learnt all he could about the Shi family through Han Zhong. The former master of his body had left him many memories, though it was mostly about the historic relics and ancient language that he had studied. But Shi Yan couldn't recall many memories about the Shi family. Luckily, Han Zhong was not on guard against him. During their together time in brothels, Han Zhong had already told him all he wanted to know. After hanging out together several times, Han Zhong began to like this young master. So he told Shi Yan not only about the business and power distribution of Shi family, but also common sense about martial training, which Shi Yan wasn't aware of before. For example, when a warrior reached nirvana level, the conception sea would form in their mind, which could connect and combine the martial spirit magically with their profound qi to activate a secret skill and release an amazing power. Also, he told Shi Yan a lot about the features and weakness of all sorts of martial spirits, about the most powerful martial spirit in the Merchant Union, the Fire Empire and the God-Blessed Empire, and share weaknesses and disadvantages. Although Han Zhong was very lustful, he was quite diligent in training martial arts. Han Zhong possessed a lot of information about warriors. Therefore, through him, Shi Yan gained a thorough and comprehensive understanding about warriors, as well as the differences among the levels below disaster level. Han Zhong was a disaster level warrior, so he couldn't tell Shi Yan much about the levels above it, but he told Shi Yan everything he knew about the lower levels. This information was exactly what Shi Yan needed most right now. The Dream Pavilion. Shi Yan and Han Zhong, along with 4 Shi family warriors, were drinking and having fun in a large room on the 3rd floor. In the center of the simple and unsophisticated room, on some soft carpet, stood a 1-meter-high square table, which was loaded with delicate food and drinks. Shi Yan and Han Zhong were sitting on the carpet with hot young girls in their arms, yelling and playing dice happily. "Old Han, drink!" Shi Yan yelled. Han Zhong was downcast as he had lost numerous times. He drank up the wine in his cup at once and rubbed the girls in his arms' breasts. Then he raised the dice and grunted, "This hand's got some luck. This time I will definitely win." "Ah, if that is luck, both of my hands have it." Shi Yan's grin widened, and he put both of his hands underneath the girl's coat. "Qiuxiang, you really got big things here. Say, I will always be bigger than him." Qiuxiang had delicate white skin and plump breasts. Her watery eyes were filled with shyness. "Young Master Yan, you are so bad. Why do you tease me all the time?" "You can tease me too." Shi Yan smiled, drank his strong drink, and urged, "Old Han, what are you waiting for? Cast the dice. Yin Kuei and Jioshan are nearby. Too much Yin Qi is coming forth. I can feel it clearly." Han Zhong frowned, released the girl in his arms, and quietly walked to the window. He opened the window and looked out of it with the help of the light of a big red lantern. Sure enough, there is Bai Mingsu. In Kuei and Jioshan never leave his side. Wherever In Kuei and Jioshan are, you'll find Bai Mingsu. As Han Zhong mentioned Bai Mingsu, Shi Yan suddenly remembered Mu Yu Dai and Di Yalin. After a little hesitation, he too walked to the window and opened it a little wider, coldly gazing at the troop on the street. This troop consisted of around 30 people. Bai Mingsu was riding on his snow-white Ling Xiao horse at the head of the troop. Smiling lightly, he was talking to someone in the sedan on a ground dragon beside him. As the curtain on the sedan fluttered in the wind, Mu Yu Dai's fairy-like face could be seen. Di Yalin was riding a war horse with black armor on it, her hot body moving up and down with the pace of the war horse. She looked in low spirits, and a slight, sorrowful frown could be seen between her eyebrows. She barely smiled when Bai Mingsu talked to her, not showing too much interest. The two old men, who were sending out heavy yin qi, were both riding black-armored war horses behind Bai Mingsu silently. Sure, Yen opened the window a little more. When he looked at the troop, who were still dozens of meters away, the two old men seemed to notice as they looked in his direction immediately. Shi Yan felt two streams of cold yin qi gush out of their eyes from so far away, making him shudder with fear. The two old men seemed to know Han Zhong, as when they came near the window and saw him, their cold air decreased. Under the two men's gaze, Han Zhong became a totally different person. Instead of behaving in a noisy, flamboyant, and boisterous manner, he looked rigid as he gave a salute to them, holding his fists in front of his chest. The two old men nodded and didn't look at Han Zhong anymore. They turned back and narrowed their eyes, focusing again towards Bai Mingsu's back. The troop from the Bai Ming family didn't stop, but continued their leisurely steps along the street. There were several warriors who were out seeking fun on the narrow street. They stepped to the side of the road in respect when they saw the Bai Ming troop. A small path was thus suddenly formed in the middle of the crowded street for the Bai Ming troops to move by smoothly. Chapter 47, Tianyin City. Chapter 47, Tianyin City. In that simple room, Shi Yan looked lost. He stood stunned at the window for quite a while before closing the window. Going back to his seat, he was in rather low spirits. He merely focused on drinking and didn't put his hands on the girls anymore. Young Master Yan, was that the Bai Ming family troop? Carl, a sure family warrior, asked him casually. Yes. Shi Yan answered bluntly and kept drinking. Standing by the window, Shi Zhong looked at Shi Yan, frowning with an odd look in his eyes. After some hesitation, he asked, Brother Yan, the woman on the war horse, do you know her? Shi Yan nodded and finished the wine in his cup. Yes, we walked out of the dark forest together. As you heard, the demon beasts were everywhere. It was better to be accompanied than be alone. Han Zhong was an experienced man. Seeing Shi Yan's apathetic response, he blinked his eyes and assumed that something must have happened between Shi Yan and Di Yalin. Moving near Shi Yan, Han Zhong waved his hand to the girl next to him. Leave us alone. We need to talk. The foxy girl stood up, smiling, and quickly left the room. When there were only the warriors left in the room, Han Zhong said, Brother Yan, I don't know who that woman is, but it seems that Bai Mingsu is quite into her. If she accepts Bai Mingsu as well, you should forget her. Han Zhong is right. There are so many women in the world. It's unwise to offend Bai Mingsu for a woman. The Bai Ming family is the #1 family in the Merchant Union, and they are too influential. Bai Mingsu is Bai Mingshang's beloved son. It's unwise to offend him. Carl reminded Shi Yan earnestly. Carl, who was at the second sky of nascent level, was the leader of the warriors. He tried to comfort Shi Yan, as the latter had left a very good impression. Old Han, who were those two old men? Shi Yan didn't reply to Carl's statement, but looked to Han Zhong. In Kuei and Jioshan have the same teacher, and they are at the first sky of Nirvana level now, but no one knows where they came from. They used to serve the family head of Baiming family, Baimingshang. After Baiming, Su was born, and considering how he possesses twin martial spirits and agile movements, Baimingshang assigned them to protect Baiming Su. The first sky of Nirvana level, Shi Yan, was astounded. Shi Jian, the family head of the Shi family, was only at the third sky of Nirvana level. There were millions of residents in the Merchant Union, among which were numerous warriors who trained martial arts. But only a small part of them, barely more than 10 people, could step into the Nirvana level. The 2 Nirvana level warriors stayed by Baiming Su's side without doing anything else. The world was his oyster. In the Merchant Union, the Baiming family is much more powerful than the other 2 biggest families combined. There are many skillful warriors among the ministers, and talented descents pop up now and then. Plus, Baimingshang himself is at the sky level. It is really unwise to offend the Baiming family. Seeing that Shi Yan wasn't responding, Han Zhong hastily explained in case Shi Yan acted abruptly. Okay, got it. After being silent for a while, Shi Yan nodded. His expression turned back to normal as he smiled to Han Zhong. Don't worry about me, old Han. I know what to do and when to endure. That's good for you. Han Zhong said, feeling relieved. Let the girls in again. No, not interested. Let's drink. Great. Let's drink. Come on. The Merchant Union was a very special country which was co-governed by the big families, warriors, mercenaries, merchants, and all sorts of NGOs. There were no formal army, no officers, and no governmental structure. Instead, there were many big families, hundreds of mercenary unions, tens of thousands of merchants, vagrants, and civilians who hated wars. The Merchant Union never got involved in the wars between the Fire Empire and the God-blessed Empire. Therefore, it was a peaceful country. However, once it was invaded, all the forces in the Merchant Union would unite to fight against the enemy. Over the history of the Merchant Union, the Fire Empire and the God-blessed Empire had both attempted to invade it for its wealth, but they were smashed every time by the united army of the big families and mercenary unions in the Merchant Union. On average days, there were no governors in the Merchant Union, but once it was in danger, its people would fight together to drive back their mutual enemy. Those big families, hundreds of mercenary unions, and wealthy merchants could form an extremely powerful force which could defeat the God-blessed Empire and the Fire Empire easily. It's lucky that the forces in the Merchant Union only came together when the country was in danger, or it could swallow any other country at any time. The Merchant Union was in a crucial position. The dark forest was to its south, the dead swamp to its north, continuous cloud mountain to its west, and the enormous endless sea to its east. No matter if it was the dead swamp, the cloud mountain, or the islands in the endless sea, they had all kinds of abundant resources, such as minerals and magical medicines. As a big trading nation, the Merchant Union took advantage of its geographical location. However, despite the exuberant resources in the dead swamp, the cloud mountain, and the endless sea, there is also incredible danger. Demon beasts, poisonous fog, miasma, hideous tribes, and disasters. That's why one needed to be very capable to travel in these areas. Luckily, the Merchant Union never lacked skillful mercenary unions and warriors. There were 17 cities in the Merchant Union, and the Tianyin city was the biggest among them. Tianyin city was located in the center of the Merchant Union, with 8 small cities around it. It covered a large area which almost equaled the 8 small cities combined, as did its population. Therefore, Tianyin city was like the capital city of the Merchant Union, which was the main territory of those biggest families. The Shi family was amongst them. Though they had properties and gardens in every main city, the Shi family was rooted in Tianyin city. The Shi family was located in the northern part of Tianyin city. It covered 100 miles and had thousands of buildings in it. Artificial lakes, rockeries, gardens, and brooks were everywhere. The Shi family descendants lived in the serene back garden, where there was an artificial lake in the middle, with beautiful pavilions surrounding it. Behind the pavilions were the training fields, gravitational rooms, and suffering palaces. There were not many direct Shur descendants, but its branches and ministers could easily reach 100. Considering those servants and escorts, there were almost 1,000 people in Shur family. Early every morning, the Shur family members, ministers, and warriors would train hard within the training grounds. On that day, just as the rooster crowed and the sky began to turn bright, many warriors had already gotten up and started to train. Shur Jian walked out of the rock room and shouted below into Yang Hai's pavilion. Then they walked toward the gate together. During their walk to the gate, the warriors bowed to them. Shur Jian nodded indifferently without slowing his steps. A short time after they reached the gate, Han Feng appeared behind them. He began to observe the corridor out the gate as he stood next to Shur Jian, silently. According to Han Zhong's message, they should have arrived home last night. Since they didn't, they must arrive today. Shur Jian frowned and mumbled. I waited till dawn to see if that boy has really reached the third sky of nascent level. But that bastard didn't come home. Maybe they were held up by something on the road. Though Yang Hai was cursing in his mind that Shur Yen was too impolite, he still explained for him. Damn it, is it possible that Han Zhong sent the wrong message? Shur Jian looked back to Han Feng in confusion. I have met someone whose martial spirit awoke as a teenager, so I'm not skeptical about that. However, that kid has never trained in martial arts before turning 17, but now he is suddenly at the third sky of nascent level. That is just unbelievable. I have been pondering upon it for several nights, but I still can't figure it out. What do you think? Han Feng pouted, narrowed his eyes, and said, though Han Zhong is not a serious man most of the time, he is quite cautious on major things, so I don't think he would dare to lie about this. I can't explain it either, but I think it might be true. Well, I can only hope so. That bastard has let me down these past 17 years. I hope this time he will be different. Many warriors came out after them in curiosity after they had breakfast, as they heard that the family head was waiting at the gate. They gathered together and were discussing boisterously. No one knew who was coming. The most likely people were those of the Baiming family or Zhou family, or Shur Jian wouldn't be there. Yet, after a long time, no one showed up. The warriors turned impatient and began to curse amongst themselves at the arrogant person who had made Shur Jian wait for so long. As the sun rose higher and higher, they still saw nothing. Shur Jian was becoming worried as well. As he said to Yang Hai next to him, "It's been so long. What happened?" Yang Hai shook his head with a bitter smile, implying he didn't know either, while he sighed secretly to himself. Though Shur Jian mentioned Shur Yen now and then, he never really cared for him. He remembered Shur Yen only after Yang Hai's reminder that Shur Yen had disappeared in the dark forest. Upon hearing Shur Yen had reached the third sky of nascent level, Shur Jian asked about him every day, and even came out early and waited for him. Shur Jian's attitude switched too much, which made Yang Hai a little uncomfortable. Hours later, it was approaching noon as the sun was directly above them in the sky. A fat, ground dragon slowly appeared from the corridor. Two persons were leisurely leading, while chatting happily. They were Shur Yen and Han Zhong. Chapter 48, The Test. Chapter 48, The Test. At the gate of Shur family. Shur Jian, Han Feng, and Yang Hai all saw Shur Yen in front of the ground dragon at the same time. Yang Hai took a quick glance at Shur Yen and frowned, thinking to himself that the boy must have suffered a lot, as he had become much skinnier. However, Shur Jian and Han Feng's eyes brightened soon after they saw Shur Yen. They were totally surprised. Yang Hai didn't train martial arts, so he didn't know that one getting skinnier didn't necessarily imply weakness. Sometimes there was much more explosiveness hidden in a skinny body than in a robust one. However, Shur Jian and Han Feng were both experts, Therefore they realized just from a glance that Shi Yan had become much stronger, and was even stronger than those third-generation descents who had trained hard for more than 10 years. They looked at each other and were amazed. They couldn't understand what had happened to Shi Yan in the past half a year that could have changed his bone structure. A few minutes later, the troop, including Shi Yan and Han Zhong, arrived at the gate. "Hi, Big Grandpa, Uncle Han, Father." Shi Yan walked up to the gate with steady steps and greeted them. Han Zhong came over as well, greeting Shi Jian and Han Feng, and nodded at Yang Hai. Then he stood silently beside Shi Yan. Shi Jian and Han Feng's bright eyes moved over Shi Yan's body. After a long time, Shi Jian's eyes trembled. He took a deep breath and said to Shi Yan, "Follow me." Then Shi Jian turned and headed to the backyard light-footedly. Everyone who knew Shi Jian understood that he was in high spirits. "Kid, put on a good show." Han Zhong made a face at Shi Yan, implying that he was going to see better days. Shi Yan gracefully acknowledged him and nodded softly. He turned to Yan Hai. "Father, are you especially waiting for me?" Though Yang Hai had a rigid face, a light smile appeared around the corners of his mouth. "No one is waiting for you, specifically. I just wanted to see what happened to your body, and whether you really reached the nascent level or not. Han Zhong, come over here. I have a question for you." Han Feng threw a look at Han Zhong and left in the opposite direction to Shi Yan. Han Zhong hung his head, with a worried look on his face, and followed after his brother, reluctantly. "Well, go. Don't keep your big grandpa waiting for too long." Yang Hai mumbled as he pulled Shi Yan's jacket and asked in a low voice, "What the hell happened to you?" "Big Grandpa will also ask about it later, so I guess I will explain then." Shi Yan smiled, not showing much respect for his father. Yang Hai was a little surprised. He gazed at Shi Yan and asked in confusion, "Kid, you are different now. You never beat around the bush and always answered my questions straightforwardly. But now you do not seem to be afraid of me. Kid, seems like you've grown up and don't take my concerns into account anymore. You are my father. Why would I be afraid of you?" Shi Yan was astounded as he asked, "What is there to be afraid of?" "This isn't like you. You never talked to me like this." Yang Hai frowned. After a careful examination, he shook his head and said to himself, "Little bastard, you became really audacious after becoming a warrior. I'm gonna go. I can't keep Big Grandpa waiting for too long." Shi Yan smiled. Those Shi family warriors who had crowded the gate all got confused and started another boisterous discussion. Was the family head waiting for young Master Yan? Is it true? I don't know. I'm confused too. The family head has never appeared with young Master Yan before, nor was he interested in his matters. What happened now? Who knows? Has young Master Yan created trouble again? Not likely, because Master Yang Hai was the one who always cleaned up his mess. Although young Master Yan makes trouble in the merchant union now and then, it was not to the extent that the family head had to solve it. Maybe young Master Yan got into huge trouble this time. Who knows? Stop your idle talk. You'd better be respectful to young Master Yan from now on. He is not the book nerd you knew anymore. Don't blame me once you offend him and kick up a breeze. Carl was making arrangements for the ground dragon and couldn't help but yell when he saw that people were still gossiping. "Carl, what's up?" "You came back with young Master Yan. Do you know the details?" asked a warrior who was familiar with Carl. "You will know it in no time." Carl smiled proudly. "Young Master Yan will definitely surprise you guys." "What is it? What on earth happened?" Their curiosity was even stronger as they circled Carl and couldn't stop asking. "Not now, but I guess that you will know soon enough." Without giving them an exact answer, Carl squeezed his way out of the crowd and left with the troop of warriors. In the backyard of Shi family, at the center of the huge training field, The diamond-shaped test jade was glinting in the sunshine as if it was a small sun. Shi Jian was standing beside the testing jade. As Shi Yan and Yang Hai came over, he patted the jade and suddenly a ball of light flew into the jade from his hand. The dazzling testing jade dimmed at once and returned to its original color. Inject your profound qi into the testing jade, Shi Jian announced with firm eyes. Shi Yan confidently walked up to the testing jade, stretched out his hand, and pressed on the jade. He operated his profound qi and injected it into the testing jade. Complex patterns showed up on the silver testing jade, and a vague orange light shone from it. Gradually, the light got brighter and the color deeper. Okay, now. Shi Jian's mouth trembled as he focused his eyes on Shi Yan. I heard that the martial spirit of Shi family also awakened in your body, did it? Yes. Show me. Okay. Shi Yan stretched out the other hand and rolled up his sleeve. As he operated the martial spirit according to his will, his arm gradually petrified and became dark brown. Dark brown. Shi Jian and Yang Hai cried out at the same time with great amazement on their faces, while gazing at Shi Yan's brown arm in astonishment. Is it because of the light? Yang Hai blinked his eyes and rubbed them, then looked directly into the sun and mumbled, Am I dazzled? Upon hearing that, Shi Jian also got confused. He grabbed Shi Yan's arm and demanded, Come up here. Go into the shadow of that rock so the color can be seen clearly. Shi Yan didn't attempt to refuse and peacefully walked after him to the backside of the rock. It is dark brown. Shi Jian shouted loudly, and his breathing got heavier. His bright eyes stared at Shi Yan as he asked in a dignified tone, Little bastard, what the hell has happened to you? Why is your martial spirit dark brown? Is it at the second stage of petrification? Absolutely. It is at the second stage. Though I'm a mere nascent level warrior, my martial spirit reached the second stage. Give us a reasonable explanation. We Shi family, from the far ancestors to my generation, had never come across this situation. Our martial spirit never reaches the second stage before we reach human level. You are the first one. What happened? What on earth happened to you? Shi Jian was almost mad. Well, the thing is, Shi Yan repeated what he had told Han Zhong for a second time. After he finished his story, Shi Jian kept his position and stared at him with a weird expression. Big Grandpa, what do you mean by that look? I explained it. You mean 3 magical red fruits awoke your martial spirit? And made your martial spirit so odd? And gave you profound qi and helped to advance to the third sky of nascent level? Shi Jian's face got more and more twisted as he yelled, Just because of 3 fruits? Yes, that's it. Where is this fruit? I will send people to see if we can plant more of it. Don't bother, there were only 3. I searched for a very long time, but never saw it again. Little bastard, you are not fooling me, are you? Shi Jian showed obvious suspicion. Of course I'm fooling you. Shi Yan thought to himself, but looked serious as he reassured. I really have no idea. Anyway, I ate the fruits and that's it. Nothing else. Even I don't know the reason why my martial spirit is different from others. He insisted without any reluctance. Shi Jian kept asking a few more times and tried to test him, but the only response he got was, I don't know either. Finally, Shi Jian gave up. After another thought, he said, Since your martial spirit turned dark brown. Well, has the feature of the martial spirit changed? I mean, did it merely change its color, but still kept the intensity of the first stage? If my sense is accurate, it is the second stage. I will try. Shi Jian hurried to press his hand on Shi Yan's chest. Kid, cover your body with petrification. Don't worry, I will increase my power little by little, so it won't hurt you. Okay. Gradually, a ball of dark light appeared in Shi Jian's palm, and the energy in it grew stronger and stronger, striking on his chest. Suddenly, Shi Jian withdrew all the dark light like a sponge by the other hand. Shi Jian was so excited that he couldn't help but nod and say joyfully, "Amazing! It really is the second stage. Bastard, I don't know how you manage this. But from this day on, you can't be lazy. Whether you like it or not, I will push you to be a warrior." Chapter 49, The Sky Gate and the God Area. Chapter 49, The Sky Gate and the God Area. In the gravity room. Beside a huge mace at the center of the room, Shi Yan was striking it heavily as his body operated petrification and sweated all over. That mace was 7 meters tall and 3 meters wide, which was deep-rooted at the center of the stone ground in the gravity room. The sharp tips on it were like short rods shining with a dark light. Shi Yan's body had already turned dark brown, and he was breathing heavily. Moving around the mace, he kept slamming into it with his shoulders, arms, waist and thighs in turns. Endless, blunt, thunderous sounds came out from the gravity room. To trigger the potential of the petrification martial spirit of the Shi family, one must train themselves in a ruthless way. Only by slamming against hard objects could the power of petrification be used to the fullest. And only by ruthlessly tormenting one's body could his petrification martial spirit adapt to any kind of attacks from his opponents. There were 7 dark gravity pillars erected in the gravity room, which increased the gravity in the room to 7 times normal gravity. Bang, bang, bang. With his upper body naked, Shi Yan wore a serious face while he was training his body to the limit in order to activate the potential of his petrification martial spirit. Every time he slammed into the mace with his body, it would send out a thin layer of brown light. The light flashed for a short moment. It would explode the moment Shi Yan's body touched the mace and would disappear soon after the touch. After about 5,000 repetitions with different parts of his body, Shi Yan collapsed, unable to use his energy anymore. With his limbs spread out, he laid down in the center of the room, letting his sweat flow like a stream over his skin, which was the green stone ground. It had been half a month. In the past half a month, Shi Yan ate and slept in the gravity room. He never left the room, even to go to the restroom. That was Shi Jian's plan. As soon as Shi Jian found out that Shi Yan's martial spirit had reached the second stage, he made Shi Yan stop his other training and focus on refining his body. Shi Jian meant to trigger the entire potential of Shi Yan's second stage petrification martial spirit at the fastest speed, and to strengthen his body structure to the extent that it could bear the attacks from a human-level warrior. During the past half-month, Shi Jian, Han Feng, Yang Hai, and other elders came to watch him now and then. Shi Jian, for example, would come to see him every 3 days. He would examine the changes on Shi Yan's body carefully and give him some advice on the training intensity for the next stage. Lying on the ground with fatigue, Shi Yan began to adjust his breathing slowly. After feeling more strength in his arms and legs, he managed to sit up and began to operate his profound qi. Though he was exhausted, his profound qi circulated even faster than before. During this process, Shi Yan closed his eyes and tried to calm his heart, clear his mind. Every time he went to this state, he found that his blood, flesh, cells, and bones were all nourishing his body in a way he couldn't understand. His broken body would soon recover from his extreme fatigue and gain strength. This was the self-recovery of the immortal martial spirit. Shi Yan knew it well. Not knowing how much time had passed, he woke up gradually with his eyes as bright as the stars. After meditating, the fatigue in his body disappeared and his profound qi became active. There seemed to be a strong explosiveness in it which was about to break out. At this moment, the stone door of the gravity room opened a little. Han Zhong walked in with a big smile and 7 bamboo baskets in his hands. He put down the bamboo baskets and took out the delicate dishes one by one. Today's dishes: bird's nest, sea cucumber, turtle, bear's palm, glossy Ganoderma. Brother Yen, you are too gluttonous. One meal for you is even more than 5 meals of what the other young masters of Shi family eat. If you were in a small family, everything would be eaten by you. Han Zhong laughed as he put down the plates and secretly took out a jar of wine. This jar of wine called Flame is part of my collection. Drink it up quickly, and I will dispose of it. Shi Yan didn't try to refuse, as he walked over to Han Zhong quickly and began to swallow the food. After wolfing down the rich dishes which only wealthy families could afford, he took up the jar of Flame, raised his head, and drank. Wiping his mouth and putting the empty jar down, he chuckled. Old Han, you should bring me 2 jars of it next time. 1 jar is not enough. Brother Yen, the wine Flame is from the Spring Pavilion, costing 500 purple crystal coins. Han Zhong squeezed out a bitter smile. I saved this one last time I went there. I will bring you knife tomorrow, which only costs 100 blue crystal coins. I can even bring you 4 jars of it. They are only crystal coins. Shi Yan didn't care at all. Bring me Flame. I will give you the crystal coins next time. Then it's okay with me. Han Zhong smirked. Brother Yen, the family head, kept it confidential about you being a warrior. Most warriors and escorts in the family don't know about it. Do you know why? Why? Shi Yan asked lazily. The martial competition that occurs every 5 years is going to happen in 3 months. You know, in the last competition, we were surpassed by the Mo and Ling families, so the family head roared for days after that. This time, he wants me to attend the martial competition. Sure, Yen responded in surprise before Han Zhong finished his speech. The martial competition was a big event co-held by the 5 biggest families in the Merchant Union, which every warrior could attend. The competitions happened according to 5 levels: elementary level, nascent level, human level, disaster level, and earth level. Warriors of every level could compete for the first 3 places of their respective levels. The 5 big families would offer a lot of training materials as rewards, such as medicine pills, treasures, martial skills, and so forth for the winners. The 5 big families co-held the martial competition for 2 reasons. On one hand, they needed to pick expert warriors to strengthen their power. On the other hand, the competition would be motivation for warriors in this country to train hard to enhance the power of the country. Those individual warriors who weren't attached to any big family longed for the medicine pills, treasures, and martial skills. Some of them were also looking for an opportunity to attach themselves to a big family. Therefore, every martial competition would attract thousands of warriors and would be very energetic. Apart from those individual warriors, the 5 big families would send out their descendants to compete in the competition. That way, they were able to show their strength and attract outstanding warriors to choose them. Therefore, the martial competition was not only an opportunity for the big families to attract warriors, but also a stage for them to secretly fight. Thus, both the warriors and mercenaries in this country and the 5 big families attached great importance to the martial competition. Sometimes, the ownership of controversial properties among the 5 families will be decided through the competition. For example, in the last competition, the Shi family and the Mo family staked the ownership of 3 mines. Unfortunately, in the battles among the 3rd descendants, except Shi Tianyan, the other Shi family descendants, Shi Tianluo and Shi Tianka, were beaten by the Mo family descendants. So in the end, the Mo family won 2 mines, and the Shi family only won 1. You may not know, but we fought a lot with the Mo family over disputes on some properties recently. So the same thing may happen again in the martial competition this year. They may stake the ownership of some properties, which means I'm going to have a chance to perform. Sure, the family head must be hopeful that you will win for our family. That's why he is so strict with you and comes to watch you every 3 days. You don't know how busy he is recently, but he still makes time to check on you, which shows how much he cares about you. Okay, I got it. In the rock room, sitting upright on a huge rock, Shiryan's bright eyes had a serious look in them, seeming to be in deep thought. On the auction in the Misty Pavilion, there was a fragment picture of the Sky Gate. Han Feng was reporting the latest news to Shi Jian, who was standing next to him. The Sky Gate was a magical portal leading to the God area, a mysterious space. The God area may exist in the Grace Mainland or may not. It was an independent space. No one knew how the God area was formed, or its structure, or where would it appear. Only through the Sky Gate could one enter the God area. There were various versions of the legends about the God area. It was said that there were all sorts of mysterious things in different God areas, martial skills of spirit level and even God level, bizarre drugs, rare treasures. For months ago, the Medicine King Mu Sun's disciple Karu stole a fragment picture from his teacher. Maybe the two fragments come from the same picture. And are they two separate fragments or just the same one? Maybe the one in the Misty Pavilion is the one Karu had stolen. Shi Jian had a quick thought when he recalled the news from 4 months ago. Han Feng shook his head that Karu had disappeared a long time ago, but the fragment in the Misty Pavilion was provided by a woman. Seeing it is a serious matter, the Misty Pavilion didn't sell it directly, but kept it in the name of authenticating. That broken picture is still at the Misty Pavilion? Shi Jian asked firmly. Yep. Han Feng nodded. The Baiming family, the Mo family, the Ling family, and the Zhuo family had all contacted the Misty Pavilion to purchase that fragment after they got the news. But the Misty Pavilion won't put it up for auction before they authenticate it. So the 4 families merely showed their strong interest without taking any secret actions. It is only a mere fragment. If it was a complete picture, the Baiming family would have stolen it. Shi Jian sneered. Do we need to take action? Keep an eye on it, but don't get involved for the time being. Remember to exchange information with the Zhuo family. We can't act bluntly before the second fragment appears. Okay. Chapter 50 A Cut. Chapter 50 A Cut. In the gravity room. Sure, Yin was leaning against a gravity pillar while feeling pain all over his body. His naked body was so strong that the lines of his muscles could be clearly seen. They looked like they were molded for metal and looked full of explosiveness. While being provided with abundant food, Shi Yan spent another month intensely training his body. During this time he had not only gotten stronger, but he had also become taller. Abruptly, the door was pushed open. Shi Jian, Han Feng, and Yang Hai showed up at the door. Shi Jian's torch-like eyes glanced at Shi Yan from afar before nodding. It seems you haven't been idle. Of course, Shi Yan answered whilst exhausted, and didn't change his position. I guess I have refined my body enough. I need to choose a martial skill to train with. Well, you are not the one to decide that. Shi Jian swaggered up to him and said with a rigid face, Give me one of your hands. Shi Yan stretched out his left hand in response and focused. Immediately, his left arm petrified into a dark brown color. Under scrutiny, wisps of shining dark light could be seen on the surface of his arm, forming what looked like a thin, transparent layer covering his arms. Wow! Shi Jian exclaimed with excitement and observed happily. Ha! You really are something. There turns out to be dark light. You trained really hard. So great, great. Yang Hai was delighted as he walked up as well. Stepfather, is this state equivalent to the human level? Years ago, when Qing reached the 3rd sky of human level, her skin also sent out dark light after petrification. Is this the same thing? Yes. Shi Jian nodded calmly with a little muscular spasm in the corner of his mouth. The kid is really promising. He improved so much in a mere half a month. This is amazing. Although Shi Jian didn't want to make Shi Yan overly prideful, he couldn't help but praise him with a surprised face. "Kid, how on earth did you manage that?" I trained how you told me to. I kept at it, and this is the result." Shi Yan shrugged indifferently. "How long do you train for each day?" Even Han Feng, who was rarely talkative, couldn't help but ask. "About 15 hours. 15 hours." Han Feng and Shi Jian cried out at the same time. They looked at each other and found astonishment in each other's eyes. "It's impossible. You bastard. You must be fooling us." Shi Jian yelled and said firmly, "Your body needs at least 18 hours to be fully recovered before the next intensive slam training. And you need time for meals. It's more than enough for you to train for 5 hours a day. Where did 15 hours come from?" Han Feng was skeptical as well, as he shook his head softly. "Little bastard, tell us the truth. Don't be naughty in front of your big grandpa." Yang Hai grunted and reproached. "Who says I need 18 hours to recover?" Shi Yan said light-heartedly, "I just need 4 hours." "That's impossible." Shi Jian and Han Feng yelled in surprise at the same time. "Your body won't recover so soon after such intensive training. I have managed the Shi family for so many years and have never seen anyone who could recover in such short time. Shi Yang was the most talented kid I've seen, and even he needed about 15 hours to recover when he did slam training at the human level." Shi Jian shook his head and grunted. "You mean to say that you recover 4 times faster than him? Do you even think that is possible?" "Nothing is impossible." Shi Yan smiled and stood up immediately. He walked to the corner of the room and took out a dagger from the bag on the ground. "Big Grandpa, something has confused me for a long time. Now that my father is here, I want to ask for your permission to do a test." "What test?" Shi Jian frowned. "Uncle Han, I want to cut your arm." "Bastard!" Shi Jian shouted. "Kid, what are you talking about? Just a slight cut." Shi Yan kept calm, and for an accurate comparison, "I will also cut my father's and my own arms as well." Family head. Maybe young Master Yan had some plan. Why not have a try? "What the hell do you want to do?" Shi Jian was confused. "You will know." Shi Yan walked to Han Feng in an easy manner. "Uncle Han, please don't operate your profound qi, even if it bleeds, okay?" "Got it. So I will do it now." "Okay." Sure, Yan walked up and made a cut on Han Feng's left arm. Crimson blood gushed out at once. "Father, it's your turn." Shi Yan walked toward Yang Hai. "Little bastard, what are you going to do? Your father is not a warrior. Be gentle." "Okay, I know it." Shi Yan stepped up and made a cut as fast as lightning on Yang Hai's arm. Seeing his bleeding arm, Yan Hai screamed and yelled, "Little bastard! You are so cruel. I wasn't ready." Under Han Feng and Shi Jian's gaze, Shi Yan then casually cut on his own arm and watched as it started to bleed. "Bastard, what do you want to show us? What do you mean by this? I can't see anything." Yang Hai clamored. Wait for a moment." Shi Yan was quite serious now, and his expression became more rigid. Han Feng and Shi Jian were full of suspicion as they couldn't figure out what was going on and moved their eyes over to Shi Yan. Shi Yan smiled but didn't give them an explanation. He covered his bleeding arm with his jacket, not letting them see it. 10 minutes later. "What?" Han Feng noticed something strange first as he gazed at Yang Hai's arm in astonishment. "Family headlock!" Shi Jian was focusing on Shi Yan, and upon hearing Han Feng, turned to Yang Hai. He also noticed the strange thing. "Hai, why did the blood on your arm freeze and turn into a blood cocoon?" "Ah!" Yang Hai cried out as soon as he noticed the cocoon. "I don't know." "But my arm is still bleeding." Han Feng stretched out his arm and showed it to Yang Hai. "What's up?" Yang Hai asked in surprise, "You trained with martial skills for so many years, and your body quality is higher than mine. You should have stopped bleeding earlier than me. What happened? Look at my arm." Shi Yan smiled and unbuttoned his jacket to show them his arm, and wiped the frozen blood away. The cut on his arm turned to be as thin as a needle, and the flesh on the both sides seemed to be moving toward each other and recovering quickly. Shi Jian and Han Feng were aghast and quivered. "Bastard, Hua! What on earth is going on?" Shi Jian asked after a long astonishment. "This is a type of martial spirit. My father possesses it as well, but he doesn't train in martial arts and hasn't been severely hurt before, so he never noticed it." Shi Yan spilled out this secret calmly. Shi Jian kept silent with his eyes shining brightly and hands clenching. After a long while he burst into wild laughter. "Ha ha! Martial spirit. Self-recovery martial spirit. I call it the immortal martial spirit." Shi Yan explained, "I assume that this martial spirit could recover lost limbs and heal internal organs at its highest stage, which means one would be immortal." Han Feng and Shi Jian were stunned, but after some careful thought, they both realized the power of this martial spirit. They couldn't suppress their excitement anymore as their breathing became faster. "Bastard, so you possess twin martial spirits now." Yang Hai wasn't able to contain his joy either as he realized this and couldn't help but cry out. "Of course it's twin martial spirits. Absolutely." Shi Jian laughed wildly. He patted Yang Hai's back so hard that the latter fell to the ground. "Hai, I can't believe you possess a martial spirit as well. Haha, I've never thought of that. I should have cut your body when you were still a kid. Haha. Now, do all of you believe I can recover in 4 hours?" Shi Yan smiled. "Definitely. Completely. Haha." Shi Jian couldn't be happier. Ignoring Yang Hai, who was still sitting on the ground, he declared, "Kid, come with me. Let's go to the Martial Spirit Palace. All the secret martial skills are kept there. You can choose any you want." "Great." Chapter 51, The Martial Spirit Palace. Chapter 51, The Martial Spirit Palace. There were 5 floors in the Martial Spirit Palace of the Shi family. Every floor was named after the cultivation levels, and each floor held the martial skill books corresponding to that cultivation level. On the first and the second floor were martial skills of the mortal level. Generally, elementary level warriors would choose from the martial skills on the first floor, while nascent level warriors would choose the books on the second floor. On the third and fourth floor were the martial skills of the profound level. Human level warriors would go to the third floor and disaster level warriors to the fourth floor. The fifth floor of the Martial Spirit Palace held the soul spirit level martial skill of the Shi family. But this floor was exclusively for the family head, Shi Jian, who occasionally went up there. The spirit level martial skill was so special that even the ministers of the Shi family didn't have a chance to look at it. Only the Shi descendants who reached the earth level would have the chance to train with it. However, among the Shi descendants, Shi Yang had reached the highest level, but was only at the third sky of the disaster level. He was still 1 step away from the earth level. Shi Jian led Shi Yan directly to the Martial Spirit Palace. In front of the Martial Spirit Palace, an old woman with wrinkles all over her face bowed as she saw Shi Jian. "Family head!" This old woman was named Yun Luo, an old minister of the Shi family. Like Han Feng, she was also a Nirvana-level warrior of the first sky. It was said that she was even older than Shi Jian. She was already a minister when Shi Jian was a little boy. She had stayed in the Shi family for decades and was trusted by Shi Jian, so she was assigned to guard the Martial Spirit Palace. "I will help Shi Yan choose his martial skills." Shi Jian strode to the door, turned and ordered Han Feng and Yang Hai, You two wait here for a moment." Han Feng and Yang Hai nodded together. Yun Luo stepped away for Shi Jian and Shi Yin to enter the palace, and as soon as they entered it, she stood at the door and nodded at Han Feng with a weird expression. During the past few days, Shi Yin was closely protected by Shi Jian and stayed in the gravity room day and night. Not to mention Yun Luo. Even the relatives of Shi family didn't know much about Shi Yan's latest achievements. And now Shi Jian had taken him to the Martial Spirit Palace to choose martial skills in person, which means Shi Yan was officially a warrior. Yun Luo knew about Shi Yan. She knew that this young master didn't possess a martial spirit and was not into martial arts as a kid. Now he was 17 and turned out to be a warrior. This was too abnormal. Thus, Yun Luo was confused. As she couldn't figure it out, Yun Luo looked to Han Feng in suspicion, but Han Feng shook his head, implying that he couldn't explain. Yun Luo was even more confused, but didn't ask any more. She stood at the door and began to think. If it was a normal day, she would have closed the iron door and followed the visitor into the Martial Spirit Palace, in case they went into an unsuitable floor. But this time Shi Jian took Shi Yin there in person, so she didn't need to be too cautious. There are 18 mortal level martial skills on the first and the second floor, 8 profound level martial skills on the third floor, and 4 profound level martial skills on the fourth floor. Now that you are at the third sky of nascent level, you can go up to the second floor directly. Shi Jian briefly explained to Shi Yan and took him directly to the second floor. On the walls of every floor of the Martial Spirit Palace, there were several stone grooves. In each of these grooves, there was a book on martial skills. The grooves were covered with green crystals, at the center of which was a small keyhole. A piece of paper beside the keyhole briefly introduced the martial skill located in each groove. After walking around the second floor, Shi Yan found that at least 10 martial skills of the 18 martial skills were ordinary and were trained by many mercenaries and warriors, such as Kinmo's Star Fist. The other 8 martial skills were rarely seen outside, but their power and training process seemed quite simple to Shi Yan. Deep down, Shi Yan was someone who loved a challenge, who loved the process in solving a problem. Therefore, after walking around on the second floor, Shi Yan shook his head. "Big Grandpa, the martial skills on this floor are too boring. Let's go upstairs." If it was 1 year ago, Shi Yan couldn't have talked to Shi Jian like this. But Shi Yan had demonstrated his immortal martial spirit, which gave him the right to do what he wanted. To him, only the mysterious martial spirit was important to him, so he wouldn't say a word about it to anyone. But the immortal martial spirit was far from a secret, and only by showing it to others could he gain more privileges in Shi family and receive more training from Shi Jian. As he possessed twin martial spirits, Shi Jian would tolerate anything. As expected, Shi Jian didn't show any disagreement. He was a little hesitant as he grunted. "You are a mere nascent level warrior. It's not a good thing to train in profound level martial skills. Am I an average person? You see, though I've just reached nascent level, my petrification has already reached the second stage. Besides, I possess the ability to quickly recover which others don't have. The average person may be not suitable to train in profound level martial skills as my level, but maybe I am." Hearing upon this, Shi Jian was surprised, and he nodded. "Well, you have a point. Let's go upstairs." One after another, mysterious martial skill were laid in the grooves. If Shi Yan showed any interest in a martial skill, Shi Jian would patiently explain its features and training process to him. "Great, the martial skills on the third floor are much more interesting." Shi Jian kept nodding his head, and he quickly noted all the profound level martial skills on the third floor in his heart. After a while, he said, "Let's go to the fourth floor now." "Okay, I will give you a detailed explanation of the 4 martial skills on the fourth floor. You are different from those common people. so I can explain them in advance. Shi Jian then took Shi Yan to the fourth floor. As they got to the fourth floor, Shi Jian walked to a groove directly. This is star net, which can turn one's profound qi into light and weave it into a star net. This star net can directly restrain the enemy's profound qi, so he can't use it at all. That's amazing. Well, it's currently beyond your ability. This martial skill requires very dense, profound qi and complete control of your profound qi. You are too far away from it. Shi Jian was very strict. He sneered and walked to another groove. This is Desert Prince, which can produce thousands of handprints from all directions and block the enemy's movement, pushing them to fight you directly. We of the Shi family have a special martial spirit, and used in conjunction with Desert Prince, we can release our ability to the fullest. This Desert Prince is the perfect match for our petrification martial spirit. This is great too. Well, it's also beyond your ability. You can't train with it before you reach disaster level, for the same reasons as before. How can you block people from all directions if you can't even release a handprint? What's the next one? It's Dark Moon Shadow. When trained to the highest state, your body would turn into an untouchable shadow. It's not easy either. It requires a high level and the help of the energy of disaster level. So just forget about it. This is the last groove. Shi Jian exclaimed as he seemed to find something. His eyes brightened and then he paused. This martial skill trains one's fingers. Once you complete it, your fingers will be as sharp as knives and can pierce the enemy's body easily. It's very easy to defeat an enemy and completely shatter him after training in this martial skill. Combined with our petrification martial spirit, it has an extremely strong power. I'm intrigued about this one. Shi Yan was surprised. Any special requirements? There are, but it seems you are very suitable for it. Shi Jian said after hesitation. To train with the finger gun, one needs to reach the second stage of petrification and have the dark light first. Thus, he won't break his fingers while training. You can train with it. Then I choose this one. Shi Yan said decisively. Shi Jian gazed at Shi Yan with a weird look and sank in deep thought. What's wrong? Anything else? Shi Yan felt a little anxious. Kid, you really want to train with this finger gun? Shi Jian took a deep breath and looked abnormal. What's the problem? You can train with it at a very fast speed and your immortal martial spirit would be used to its fullest. Shi Yan paused, then continued speaking. But it's a hideous process to train the finger gun. It's much harder than slamming your body into the mace. It's complete torture. You really want to try it? Not those elementary martial skills? Yes. Okay, then I will tell to the process to train the finger gun. Your fingers will become very sharp after you finish the training process, but it's torture to get there. A day later in the gravity room. Out of 7 gravity pillars, 6 were covered by the skins of a 5th-level demon beast, the silver snake. The skin could negate the gravity, so the gravity was currently 2 times normal. Beside the only pillar not covered by the snake skin, Shi Yan was positioned upside down, supported by the index finger of his left hand. This thin index finger was supporting his whole body weight, which was twice as heavy due to the increased gravity. His index finger was trembling slightly and seemed about to break at any time. Shi Yan's face was as red as a lobster. The muscles on his left arm were quivering, and the veins were shaking like small snakes, which were trying to force their way out of his skin. Extreme pain came from his fingertip to his heart. It felt like numerous needles were stabbing into his finger. The pain stroked his nerves like waves, and he was about to break down. Endure it. Shi Yan gritted his teeth, and blood was about to gush out of his face. As he was positioned upside down, his blood had flowed down into his head, which was intolerable. 5 minutes. Shi Yen, was about to break down after only 5 minutes. The pain from his finger almost made him give up. It would have broken if it wasn't petrified. Carry on. 6 minutes. 7 minutes. When it came to the 8th minute, Shi Yen was at the edge of breaking down, and his consciousness began to dim. Just then, all sorts of negative emotions exploded in the meridians of his head all at once. All the negative emotions gushed into his mind crazily. Rampage had been triggered. Chapter 52, The Mysterious Area. Chapter 52, The Mysterious Area. Bang! Shi Yen couldn't hold himself up anymore, and he fell to the ground while breathing heavily. Wisps of invisible but odd negative energy secretly poured out of his meridians and into his mind like silk. The negative energy intertwined in his mind and seemed to have combined with his nerves. A piercing pain suddenly invaded his mind. The pain was like an electric current which struck out from his mind and flew across his whole body, activating all of his meridians. It lasted for only 3 seconds. A dense negative energy dispersed from all of his meridians. The negative energy expelled from his meridians didn't stop, but kept moving through his veins, flesh, blood, bones, cells, and entrails. There seemed to be electric currents flowing through his body. While his head was still hurting severely, his limbs began to contract. Thin white smoke poured out from every single one of his pores. A layer of pale smoke rapidly wrapped around him. Combined with the smoke was a murderous, bloody smell which encouraged people to kill. As all the negative energy escaped from his meridians, his body contracted by 1/3. Standing there with his skinny body, Shi Yen was surrounded with the desire for blood, which also filled his body. Suddenly, the pain in his mind disappeared all at once. Opening his eyes, Shi Yen found his nerves had become more acute and he could even think and calculate faster. His mind could maintain a very calm state. The wisps of negative energy in his head seemed to combine with his nerves and had made his body extremely sensitive. Standing there, he could even feel the changes the negative energy had made in his flesh and blood and how much power it had brought him. Now, he had become an unfeeling machine without any human emotions. The only thing left in his mind were methods to kill. How to kill quickly and efficiently. He was a most hideous creature right now. All other thoughts other than murder were disposed of. The only thing he could think of was how to kill his enemies. No kindness, no concerns, nothing but killing. Hoo-hoo! Shi Yen was breathing heavily like a murderous monster in the bloody gravity room. There wasn't any mercy left in his eyes, and it seemed that he could kill at any time. Stop! A sound echoed in his mind. With the strength of will, Shi Yen withdrew the white smoke into his meridians. Sitting down cross-legged, he closed his eyes and composed himself. He cleansed the thought of murder from his mind and let the odd negative energy slowly gush back into the meridians in his head. After a very long time, Shi Yen began to breathe evenly, although he was still extremely fatigued. Then he slowly opened his eyes. The clarity in his eyes had returned, and there was no trace of any coldness or bloody desire. The first sky of Rampage. At that moment, Shi Yen realized the real state of the first sky of Rampage. Apart from the change to his body, the change to his mind was more horrifying. He believed that in that mindset he would be the coldest killing machine and would be able to trigger all of his potential. In that state he had no emotions, only the need to kill. All he could think about was how to kill faster and more efficiently. Too cold-blooded. Horrifying. Shi Yen couldn't help but shout in his mind after he recovered and remembered that weird state. And at that moment he realized that maybe the direction of his training was wrong. The training of Rampage should start from the head, and the whole process would be led by the head. Once Rampage started in his head, his whole body would change with it. But he had begun to train from his hands and feet and then his whole body. When he finally trained with his head, his body would change, and then the recoil would strike the meridians in his head. Apparently, he was training in an incorrect way. Thus, he fainted during several trainings. Now the last step of Rampage was finally complete. Exhausted, Shi Yan didn't have any energy to train his finger gun. He had to sit where he was and drive out the side effects of Rampage, using the immortal martial spirit. After a full circulation, his profound qi had as recovered by a lot, and so he tried to strike the blood ring. Recently, he was often trying to strike the blood ring and break another shield to see if there were other secrets. But every strike ended in failure. Although he was at the third sky of nascent level, he couldn't break another layer in the ring. His sharp, profound qi was always blocked when touching that shield. The profound qi bounced back in waves. Shi Yan stood up and went to the corner of the gravity room and took out the spirit-level martial skill, book, gravitational field, out of his bag. Sitting in the corner, Shi Yan was frowning as he was turning the pages one by one. He was very grateful to the previous master of his body now. He could read the ancient book all because of that boy's knowledge. And apart from that boy, no one else in the Shi family could read the ancient language. Luckily, that boy passed the ancient language to him, or he would have had to find a special person who could read the ancient language and translate it for him. This was a spirit-level martial skill. He didn't say a word about this book, even to Shi Jian or Yang Hai. It would be much too troublesome if his translator spread it. He slowly read out those ancient characters secretly in his mind. The book was not thick at all, as it only had 27 pages. He quickly finished reading all the content. Closing the book, Shi Yan looked weird as he mumbled. This book on the spirit-level martial skill is too much fun. One needs to possess different types of power to train with it. Though this martial skill wasn't strict about one's cultivation level, it had strict requirements on one's power. Though it was a type of spirit-level martial skill, elementary level and nascent level warriors could also train with it. There was only one requirement for training it. One had to possess at least 2 types of power. Only when the 2 powers clashed against each other would a field be created. The space in the field would twist and thus create attraction. Once the field was created, it would drag everyone but its creator into it. Under its power, anyone who was dragged into the field would automatically spin, and their blood and flesh would be squeezed. Their profound qi would be suppressed, and they wouldn't be able to operate their martial skills. According to the author of the book Gravitational Field, the more types of power the trainer possessed, the more powerful the field would be. If the trainer had 3 or 4 types of power, the field he created could directly kill disaster-level warriors. Once there were 5 types of power in the field, even an Earth-level warrior would definitely die. Holding the book and thinking for a while, Shi Yan chuckled softly as his eyes turned bright. Common warriors had only 1 type of profound qi in their body. Only those who possess special martial spirits could have another type of power, such as Di Yaolin's blue magic flame. Apparently most warriors couldn't train with this magical spirit-level martial skill, because it was rare for people to possess 2 or 3 types of powers in their body. Luckily, Shi Yan was among the minority. The negative energy from his meridians was very different from profound qi. He could train with it directly. Chapter 53. Visitors from the Zhuo Family. Chapter 53. Visitors from the Zhuo Family. ED note: the notation for martial skills has been changed from single quotes to square brackets. The previous chapters will be updated to reflect this. In the gravity room, Shi Yan leaned against the gravity pillar, standing upside down while balanced on the middle finger of his left hand, all of his veins popping out. A quarter of an hour later, he switched to his ring finger. Every 15 minutes, he would shift to the next finger and repeat the process all over again. After one complete cycle, Shi Yan sat on the green stone ground covered in sweat. He stretched out his left hand and released some of the negative energy from the meridians in his arm. Wisps of white smoke sprawled over his arm and stealthily flew in front of him according to his will. Profound qi was being operated in his fingers. Then it quivered and was injected into the white smoke which was floating in front of Shi Yan. The profound qi then wriggled like a snake in the white smoke. The white smoke and the profound qi slowly combined, forming into one after some small swirls, in which a magical attraction suddenly erupted. As the attraction occurred, that space seemed to collapse and contract at once. The nearby air was sucked in, and the surrounding space seemed to decrease sharply, feeling rather heavy. His eyes shining brightly, Shi Yan focused on the small field and tried to feel the magical power, injecting more profound qi into it. Strangely, the field didn't get any stronger. On the contrary, the magical power in it became weaker. Shi Yan was stunned and confused. After pondering for a long time, he seemed to figure out the trick. He stopped injecting profound qi and pushed some of the negative, white smoke surrounding his arm into the field. The field, which was previously getting weaker, suddenly began to strengthen as soon as the white smoke was added. Gazing at the field for 10 seconds, Shi Yan was thinking on the details. Eventually, he withdrew the 2 types of power out of the field. The field disappeared at once. Through this training, he drew the conclusion that in order to strengthen the field, the 2 types of power should be balanced. Only by doing this could the field remain powerful. If one of the powers surpassed the other one, it wouldn't strengthen the field, but break the balance and decrease its power. There needed to be an accurate balance between the 2 powers, or the power of the field could not be released to the fullest extent. During these days, Shi Yan devoted himself to his 2 martial skills, and, apart from having 3 meals a day, he spent almost all of his time on his training. After a month's torment, Shi Yan had made significant progress in the. Now he could stand on each of his fingers for 15 minutes. His 10 fingers became harder and harder, and would even make the sound of metal when struck after petrification. Every time he finished training he would delve into the spirit level martial skill book. He didn't exhaust his negative energy in his meridians every time he trained. Instead, he just released a little part of it from his arms and combined it with his profound qi to explore the effects of. Though the field he formed was small, it had the same mechanism as the big ones. After endless repeated use, he gained a deeper understanding about and knew more about it after a period of time. The deeper he probed the skill, the more profound he found this spirit-level martial skill to be. There were many more truths hidden in it. While training in this spirit-level martial skill, Shi Yan was also in the process of trying to understand the truth of this universe. Sitting there upright, covered in perspiration, Shi Yan sank deep into thought. Creak. The door of the gravity room opened as Han Zhong walked in and yelled, "Brother Yan, the family head has asked for you to come to the living room." Living room. Shi Yan glanced at him and frowned. Didn't he forbid me from leaving the gravity room? Are there important visitors? Zhuo Su came with that little girl, Zhuo Shi. Han Zhong explained while standing at the door. Zhuo Su just brought Zhuo Shi back from her teacher, Qishao in the Cloud Mountain. So they came to visit us on the way and discuss the martial competition with the family head. The Zhuo family was one of the 5 big families in the Merchant Union and was quite close to the Shi family. The Zhuo family possessed the shadow martial spirit. During fights, there would be clones beside them. Many skilled Zhuo family warriors could even create 7 or 8 clones during a fight. These clones could move and make different actions in order to confuse the enemy. As the Zhuo family members possessed the shadow martial spirit, they would be in a beneficial position from the very beginning. The opponents would mistakenly attack the clones, so the Zhuo warriors could kill them easily. The shadow martial spirit was not only beneficial for fights, but also made a big difference when one needed to escape. Once the Zhuo warriors were threatened, they would create several clones of themselves and run in different directions. If they had only one enemy, that person could only choose one direction to chase them in. After he caught up, he would find out that it was just a clone, and their real body had already ran off somewhere else. If the real body was chased, they could create more clones and make the enemy guess again. One would break down if he came across a Zhuo family warrior and had to find the real body to chase. Okay, got it. Shi Yan nodded and casually picked up a green warrior uniform from the ground and put it on. He strode out of the gravity room. Let's go. Brother Yan, aren't you going to take a shower first? Han Zhong covered his nose with one hand and waved with the other. You stink like sweat. Nope. I will be back soon anyway. You don't want to leave a good impression on Zhuo. Han Zhong looked weird. Zhuo is well known for her talent in the Merchant Union. Tian Xiao, Tian Luo, and some other young masters are all around her these days. Aren't you going to try and impress her? Zhuo. Shi Yan was stunned when a bright flash crossed his mind. Unexpectedly, he felt a slight sorrow in his heart, and he shook his head. Well, there is something between this girl and me. Exactly. Han Zhong smirked. You were born on the same day. What a coincidence. So your grandpa and Zhuo nearly got you two engaged. But on the third day after her birth, she turned out to possess the shadow martial spirit, while you didn't. Then no one brought your engagement up, when the two sides both chose to be silent about it. Han Zhong paused and sighed. It's natural. Zhuo inherited a martial spirit, but you didn't show yours at the beginning, which, to the Shi family and the Zhuo family, meant that you wouldn't be successful. The Zhuo family wouldn't marry a real warrior like Zhuo to some commoner, and the Shi family can't take advantage of it. So that is it. Memories hidden deep within Shi Yan's mind were awoken by Han Zhong's speech. Standing there stunned, Shi Yan slowly sorted out these memory fragments and mumbled after a long time. That guy was really sentimental. Zhuo is incredibly talented and intelligent, but it is also said that she is rather lazy and not into martial arts. Her accomplishment was the result of her family pushing her. Even so, she trains much faster than average warriors. 17 and the second sky of the human level. Another miracle in the Merchant Union. Han Zhong shook his head and sighed. That bastard Bai Ming-su has also reached the second sky of human level at 17, but he kept training so hard, while Zhuo kept sleeping and fooling around. I guess Zhuo is more talented than Bai Ming-su. Sure, Yan didn't reply, but frowned. He could feel that slight sorrow in his heart which was triggered by Zhuo. As he focused on the memory, Shi Yan realized that the previous master of his body was deeply in love with Zhuo, while she never felt anything for him. Zhuo was very lazy. She didn't like hard training, but was into art, nature, tea ceremony, astrology, and so on. Her hobbies varied. Though she didn't train hard, she could easily break the levels and manage to reach the second sky of human level with the help of her incredible talent. Apart from her incredible talent, she also had an extraordinarily delicate face. The previous master of this body fell for Zhuo at the first sight, but he wasn't good with words and knew he was at a disadvantage, so he never expressed his admiration for her. Typical unrequited love. Well, after his mind wandered for a while, Shi Yan smiled. So that girl is a genius. Absolutely. Han Zhong nodded and affirmed. Otherwise, Qi Xiao in the Cloud Mountain wouldn't have insisted on teaching Zhuo and taken her to the Cloud Mountain after seeing her for the first time 3 years ago. Qi Xiao is an expert of the sky level, which is very rare in the Merchant Union, Fire Empire, and the God-blessed Empire. It is said that even Bai Mingshang has been beaten by him. Okay, Shi Yan looked indifferent. Shall we go now? Air, you are not moved by what I said? You are not going to clean yourself and suit up? Han Zhong smiled bitterly. Now that this girl is so popular and she is protected by Qi Xiao and Zhuosu, I don't think I will have a chance with her. So why waste my time? Chapter 54, Zhuo Shi. Chapter 54, Zhuo Shi. In front of the living room, there was a mid-sized garden which contained all sorts of rare plants. There were flowers that bloomed during every season, sending out intoxicating fragrances. Shi Yan walked to the front of the garden and saw Zhuo Shi at once, who was crowded by several boys. Among the fresh flowers, Zhuo Shi was standing in a beautiful position. Her long, straight legs looked sexy. In the sunlight, her porcelain-like skin was shining elegantly. On her small, delicate face, her two big eyes were as clear as crystals. Although Shi Yan knew Zhuo Shi was pretty, he was still amazed after seeing her in person. Zhuo Shi was as beautiful as Muyu Dai, and she was even taller, with longer and more delicious legs. These youths crowded around Zhuo Shi like stars that circled the moon. Zhuo Shi was holding a watering can and was leisurely watering the flowers, though there was a sign some helplessness in her eyes. It seemed that she didn't like to be treated like she was special. Shi Yan took a glance at her from afar and turned away. He entered the garden and directly headed towards the living room behind the garden. Shi Yan! A young man's loud shout came, and many youths around Zhuo Shi turned their eyes to Shi Yan. Yes, brother. Shi Yan paused, turned and asked, Where have you been these days? I heard you came back months ago, but why didn't I see you? Shi Tianxiao yelled and waved at Shi Yan. Come, Shi Yan, little Shi has a piece of turtle shell with her, and there are some odd characters on it. Aren't you an expert on these things? Come and help us check. Zhuo Shi, who was among these youths, was interested after hearing that. Her lake-like eyes crossed over the 10 meters and settled upon Shi Yan. I'm busy now. Big Grandpa is asking for me. Talk to you later. Shi Yan looked indifferent and refused at once, then walked towards the living room without any hesitation. Shi Tianxiao felt weird and was stunned. He smiled and explained embarrassingly, Shi Yan is bad-tempered, wordless, and not into martial arts at all. All these years, he has been running around all over the place. Even I don't know what he was doing. Don't worry, I will get him to read it for you. There was suspicion in Zhuo Shi's eyes. She gazed at Shi Yan's disappearing back and asked, He is not interested in martial arts? Then why is his cultivation level even higher than yours? Wow, what? Shi Tianxiao was shocked as he hurried to ask, Little Shi, are you serious? I have never seen him train martial arts for 1 second in the last 17 years. Cultivation? Zhuo Shi's pretty face showed some surprise too. She asked earnestly after some thought. He has reached the 3rd sky of the nascent level. How couldn't he have trained in martial arts? That old man taught me his, through which I can tell anyone's cultivation. His cultivation is not higher than mine, so my estimation must be correct. The 3rd sky of nascent level. Shi Tianluo, who was standing beside them, shook his head and shouted, No way! It's impossible. For the past 17 years, Shi Yan literally hasn't trained martial arts for even 1 second. How could he reach the 3rd sky of the nascent level in 1 night? Don't be ridiculous. Seeing them unconvinced, Zhuo Shi shook her head slightly without further explanation, and went to the other side with the watering can. Big Grandpa, what can I do for you? Shi Yan walked into the living room, bowed to Shi Jian, Han Feng, and Zhuosu one by one, and asked Shi Jian. Shi Jian nodded, stepped up, grabbed Shi Yan's arm, and dragged him to the front of Zhuosu. Brother Zhuo, look at him carefully, and check how on earth he has his martial spirit. Your Zhuo family has collected so many classic books on martial spirits. You must know more about it than me. I can't figure it out. I believe you can. Oh. Zhuosu was around 60 years old with white hair along the two sides of his forehead. He didn't look arrogant or proud at all, but was extremely learned and refined. He didn't look like a family head from a big family, but rather a teacher at the school. Shi Jian and Zhuosu had been close friends for many years, and the Shi family and the Zhuo family were solid allies. Therefore, Shi Yan's latest news might be still a secret to most Shi family members, but it wouldn't be a secret to Zhuosu. Zhuosu frowned slightly as he stretched out one of his skinny dry hands and put it on Shi Yan's wrist. Petrify your body first. Shi Yan did as Zhuosu asked. Suddenly, thousands of wisps of energy seemed to come out from his wrist like silk. The wisps felt alive as it nimbly floated to every corner of Shi Yan's body, but didn't cause him any pain despite some itchiness. The wisps passed through his veins, probed his bones, entered his entrails, and moved over every corner of his body, and finally it went back and disappeared at his wrist. Zhuosu released his hand and frowned deeply. After a long silence, he said, "Nothing strange." Shi Jian was so joyful that he said in haste, "You mean this boy has a normal martial spirit? And it will also improve in the future?" "Should be." Zhuosu was in deep thought while his face showed a weird expression. "Brother, is there another martial spirit in his body?" "How do you know?" Shi Jian was too happy to contain himself, and he couldn't help but laugh. "Brother Zhuo, you are really something." "Yes, there is another martial spirit in his body which can provide self-recovery." "Haha, I intended to tell you later, but you detected it so soon." A light flashed Zhuosu's eyes as his mouth trembled. After a long while, he nodded heavily and greeted happily, "Congratulations, brother!" "Haha, you too, you too." Shi Jian was delighted as he laughed. "Your little girl is so talented that she has already reached the second sky of the human level. Even that old Qi Xiao insisted on teaching her. I bet her accomplishments will be much greater than that boy in the Baiming family." Zhuosu shook his head with a bitter smile and sighed with fondness. "That girl is really talented, but she is too lazy. She won't train until I force her to. Her cultivation would be much higher if she was as diligent as Baiming Su." Zhuosu looked a little proud as he mentioned Zhuoshi's talent. "Your girl advances really fast." But Shi Yan advanced to the third sky of the nascent level in a very short time too. He never trained in the past 17 years. To mention this speed, I have never seen anyone who advances faster than him. Shi Jian replied with a smile, raising his head. Another light crossed Zhuosu's eyes. He looked at Shi Jian and nodded with a smile. "Twin martial spirits are really amazing. The Shi family will definitely win the martial competition this time." "Sure." Shi Jian wasn't modest at all, as he said loudly, "I kept this guy in the gravity room for so long so that he could teach a lesson to the Mo family." "Brother, since Shi Yan possesses twin martial spirits, it's understandable that his petrification could directly advance to the second stage." Zhuosu thought for a while and said, "As far as I know, there is a small possibility that the two martial spirits in one body could change after coming into contact with each other, and that variation is harmful in most cases. The two martial spirits may influence each other in a negative way and decrease their power, but there is a small chance that some twin martial spirits could nourish each other. Shi Yan is lucky. Apparently his twin martial spirits are compatible. Therefore his petrification could directly advance to the second stage when he is still at the nascent level. Yeah, this guy is really blessed. Or he wouldn't have given me such a surprise at the age of 17. Shi Jian nodded with a broad smile. Then the two old men started to talk about other, trivial things, seeming to forget that Shi Yan was still beside them. May I go back to the gravity room if there is nothing else I can do?" Being ignored, Shi Yan suggested helplessly. "Well, go. Hurry up. Don't be lazy." Shi Jian urged seriously. "Oh, by the way, you are an expert on ancient characters, right? Zhuo Shui remembered something and added, Little Shi got a piece of turtle shell which has some ancient characters on it. She wants to know what it says. Please help her read it when you pass by her. Okay. Chapter 55, The Weirdo. Chapter 55, The Weirdo. In the garden in front of the living room. Some Shi family boys were fawning over Zhuo Shi passionately with modest smiles. Every time Zhuo Shi asked about something, they would answer quickly in order to create a good impression of themselves. Some of them were from the branches of the Shi family, and some, such as Shi Tianshao and Shi Tianluo, were from the direct line. Walking slowly among the fresh flowers, Zhuo Shi looked a little absent-minded, though her steps didn't falter. She shook the watering can in her hand, bored and detached, like a spirit among the flowers. Sure, Yan walked out of the living room, thought for a while, and directly went into the flower garden, towards Zhuo Shi. He then stretched out his hand and said, Please show me the turtle shell. You stupid guy. Now you come to make up to little Shi. Where have you been just now? Shi Tianshao grunted in discontent. Big Grandpa wanted to have a word with me. Shi Yan explained casually, I promised Grandpa's would help Zhuo Shi read the shell. We have different intentions. Intentions? What's the difference? Shi Tianshao was a little embarrassed. Suddenly he covered his nose with his hand and cried, Shi Yan, what is that smell coming from you? A sour smell was wafting out from him. The crowd didn't notice it in the beginning as they were busy fawning over Zhuo Shi. As they heard Shi Tianxiao's cry, they finally noticed and quickly covered their noses, complaining that Shi Yan was too shameful. Unexpectedly, the only girl there didn't even take a step back, but stood there carrying the watering can, seemingly not caring about the smell at all. Zhuo Shi stared at Shi Yan in surprise, while confusion overtook her mind. Every man, including Shi Tianshao and Shi Tianluo, would suit up and put some perfume on before they saw Zhuo Shi, using flower essence to ensure they didn't leave a bad impression on her. But this boy was too different. His warrior gown was wrinkled and dusty. Apparently he had been wearing it for a very long time. There was the strong smell coming from him indicating that he had just finished training his martial arts. This guy obviously doesn't take me seriously. Zhuo Shi was stunned and soon drew this conclusion, which triggered her interest in Shi Yan. Seeing the crowd turned off, but Zhuo Shi still standing there, Shi Yan was a little happy as he asked softly, Where is the turtle shell? It's at the living room. I will get it right away. Zhuo Shi replied in a very melodious voice. She then moved her beautiful legs and thin body and disappeared in an instant. The girl moved as fast as lightning. Even Shi Yan could only see her shadow pass by, unable to follow her movement. The crowd, including Shi Tianshao, were astounded. They realized that not only was Zhuo Shi pretty, but also a warrior one realm higher than them. By the time Zhuo Shi had returned, the crowd were still drowning in amazement as only 6 seconds had passed. Zhuo Shi appeared in front of Shi Yan with a basin-sized turtle shell in her hand and handed it to him. Here you are. Shi Yan nodded and took the shell, only to find his body dragged down by a massive weight, and he almost fell to the ground by the heavy turtle shell. He operated his profound qi and was barely able to stabilize his body. He exclaimed, so heavy. He looked to Zhuo Shi in discontent and assumed she was deliberately trying to make a fool out of him. However, he found that Zhuo Shi's eyes were crystal clear and devoid of any malicious intentions. Yes, I don't know what this shell is made out of. It's about 400 kilograms. Zhuo Shi didn't notice that Shi Yan had secretly cursed her. Instead, she fingered the short hair beside her ears and added, I was surprised when I first got it. 400 kilograms. Shi Tianshao rubbed his temples and felt his head go numb. Zwasher held the turtle shell with one hand and could still move that fast. This made him realize the distance between him and Zwasher, and he was a little disappointed. Shi Yan was holding the turtle shell firmly after he recovered, which also improved his understanding of Shi Yan, and he now believed what Zwasher had previously said. Shi Yan, you bastard! Though Shi Tianshao was not a gifted boy, he was clever enough. He realized that Shi Jian had kept this a secret, so he stopped himself before he announced Shi Yan's latest shocking news. Shi Yan remained indifferent. Without replying to Shi Tianshao, he examined the turtle shell carefully and nodded to Zwasher. This is one of the oldest languages, so I need to read it with the help of some books. Follow me to my room. At once, Shi Yan headed to his own house with the turtle shell in his hand. Okay. Zwasher nodded and stepped up leisurely. Big brother, are we following them? Shi Tianluo showed a strange face and asked quietly after the two had moved far away. Good idea. Shi Tianshao couldn't suppress his curiosity. Seeing no one was walking out of the living room, he also followed to Shi Yan's house. Shi Yan lived in a 3-story stone house. The first floor held various trivial stuff, the second floor was for resting, and the third floor was filled with huge bookshelves where Shi Yan kept all sorts of ancient books. After leading Zwasher to the house, Shi Yan saw that the crowd had also followed them. He shouted at them from the door, I need quiet. Don't come into my house. Then he closed the door and said to Zwasher, Let's go upstairs. Zwasher nodded obediently and followed him to the second floor. Well, you go up and rest on the third floor for a while. I need to take a shower and change my clothes. I will catch up with you shortly. He handed the turtle shell back to Zwasher and pointed at the stairs leading to the third floor, this way. Why shower now? Zwasher rolled her eyes at him and grunted with her delicate nose. I want to feel comfortable. It's not out of consideration for you. Don't think too much of yourself, little girl. You think too much. Don't waste my time. Go to the third floor. I'm taking off my clothes. Not bothering to care, Shi Yan took off his warrior's gown and threw it onto the hanger. He was only in his underwear and almost naked. He glanced at Zwasher indifferently. Why are you still here? After a long period of intense training, Shi Yan had become much stronger. Every muscle looked shiny and hard, as if molded by iron, emitting a strong sense of masculinity. As Zwasher saw him take off his clothes without any shame, she panicked. She cursed, "Bastard!" and quickly took the turtle shell up to the third floor with her face blushing. This guy had some figure, Zwasher thought to herself as she was walking upstairs. The third floor covered 200 square meters. Apart from the bookshelves, there were many bizarre jars, bottles, pots, and wine glasses on the expanded third floor. Zwasher took out an ancient book randomly, flipped it open, and realized she couldn't read it. Zwasher shook her head and thought to herself, what a weirdo. Zwasher had various hobbies as well. She studied plants, tea ceremony, astrology, medicine, and weapons, each for a short time. But she was too lazy, so she couldn't focus on one thing for too long. She would switch to a new thing shortly after. These ancient books on the third floor were mostly about ancient history and ancient. Zwasher was not interested in them at all, so she found them all boring and difficult to understand. Now she was sure Shi Yan was officially a weirdo. Why are you interested in ancient life? What does it have to do with you? What can you do with it? Zwasher curled her lips and thought that Shi Yan was more ignorant and incompetent than her. Chapter 56, Basalt Scriptures and the Dragon Turtle Armor. Chapter 56, Basalt Scriptures and the Dragon Turtle Armor. Zwasher strolled around on the third floor, feeling very bored, so she went and stood next to the turtle shell on the ground, waiting for Shi Yan to get back. After half an hour, Shi Yen slowly walked up the stairs. Wearing a light green long garment, he looked fairly handsome. But Zwasher only glanced over him once, then retracted her gaze and continued staring at the turtle shell. She spoke. "If you're done, then let us take a look at it quickly. I've been waiting for so long." Zwasher had seen too many attractive men, and the men of the Zwa family were all good-looking. So Zwasher was nearly immune to all the different types of handsome men. "Girl, you're used to making people wait for you, aren't you? If you don't try waiting for someone else, how would you know how hard it is?" Sure, Yen sneered. He didn't rush to approach her, but first he went around the bookshelves and, using the memories deeply rooted in his head, took out a heavy ancient book that was covered with dust, then moved to Zwasher's side. Zwasher stared in a daze, as she had unexpectedly blanked out due to Sher Yan's words. She nodded lightly and spoke in agreement. "You're right, it has always been others waiting for me. I've never waited for anyone. So this is how it feels to wait for someone. Why is it that those people waited so long for me, yet they never made a fuss, and still talk to me with a face full of smiles? That's because they're low." Sher Yen commented bluntly. "Huh." Zwasher chuckled, her bright eyes scanning Sher Yen, and she spoke while smiling. "You're so wicked. So how are they low?" "I think you shouldn't be named Zwasher. You should instead be called Zwa-Xien Exen." "Why?" "From where I come from, they name children based on what they lack. Like how the name Zhao Exan means lacking wealth and Wang Miao means lacking water. So you should be called Zwa-Xien Exen." "You lack wits. Asshole. So you're not stupid." Sher Yen said indifferently. "If you weren't so slow-witted, how could you not know what they were thinking? They wanted to flatter you, so, of course, they wouldn't show any discontent. All men, before they obtain a wonderful thing, act incredibly low. After they obtain it, they become even lower. Are you talking about yourself?" Zwasher's eyes brightened, and she smilingly as she looked at him. "Cough, cough. I said normal men are like that, but I'm an exception." "Sure," Yen shamelessly stated, then crouched down, moving closer to the piece of turtle shell on the ground. With one hand, he quickly flipped through the pages of the thick ancient book. Whenever he flipped to a certain page, he would pause, his finger pointing to a specific ancient character. On the back of the basin-sized turtle shell, aside from the complex Old Moor pattern, was actually 8 lip-sized ancient characters. Those 8 ancient characters didn't seem to look like they were forcefully carved on. Instead, they looked like they were naturally formed by the moir patterns on the turtle shell. It was extraordinarily magical. The 8 ancient characters were arranged in 2 lines, and each character was about the same size and gave off a cold feeling when touched. Sher Yen felt the surface of each character with his left hand, his right hand constantly flipping through the ancient book in his hand. Sometimes he wrinkled his eyebrows in thought. Other times his eyes would brighten and a smile would appear at the corner of his lips, as if he came to an understanding. He engrossed himself in deciphering the ancient characters on the turtle shell. As focused as he was, it seemed as if he didn't notice there was a beautiful young girl nearby. Zwasher's dainty figure knelt down, her delicate face pointed towards him, constantly paying attention to the changes in expression on Sher Yan's face. It was to say, when Sher Yan was deeply concentrating on something, he displayed the unique charms of a man. Zwasher somewhat admired this kind of concentrated dedication, and she nodded silently in her mind, thinking, although he has a big attitude and rants a lot when working on things, he's pretty serious about it. Rustle, rustle. In the silent room, there was only the sound of Sher Yan rapidly flipping through his book. Zwasher had quietly kneeled down next to him, not interrupting. After a long while, Sher Yan suddenly shut the book in his hand, and with a serious face he said, "Done. What do these 8 characters mean?" Zwasher's eyes brightened, and she asked delightedly, "Dragon turtle armor. Basalt scriptures." Sher Yan shouted with a deep voice, Hey, Zwa whispered, pointing at the turtle shell, and spoke in surprise. The turtle shell is glowing because of your voice. Yen was surprised and hurriedly looked down. The meticulous moire pattern on the turtle shell was indeed releasing a faint green glow. It was as if the 8 ancient characters were brought to life, slowly shifting on the turtle shell, reforming altogether. Staring, both Zwa and Yen were stunned. The 8 ancient characters, after shifting for a while, formed a hand-shaped indent. On the turtle shell, there was a light green glow that was swirling, and strange, continuous pulses escaped from the turtle shell. The air in the room seemed to be attracted to the turtle shell, as it quickly flowed into the shell, making it hard for Yen and Zwa to breathe. Zwa, I'll stay right here. You go into the living room right now and call both of our grandpas over. Now. Yen was dazed for a moment, then shouted. Okay. Zwa was also stunned by the change to the turtle shell, so she didn't dare to hesitate. Her tall figure shook for a second and she disappeared from Yen's view. Yen's expression was serious, his eyes steadily fixed upon the turtle shell. After staring at the turtle shell for a while, Yen's heart skipped a beat. Suddenly realizing the strange conditions of the turtle shell was as if it wanted someone to put their hand in. As soon as the thought surfaced in his mind, Yen could not resist and wanted to place his hand onto the turtle shell. Yet, right after his hand reached out, he realized what he was doing. No, this turtle shell belongs to Zwa. I shouldn't be the one to do it. Thinking this, Yen stopped, took a deep breath, and he made himself take a few steps away from the turtle shell, waiting patiently. After a short moment, Zwa, and Yen rushed to the room, and the 3 surrounded the turtle shell, watching the continuously shifting turtle shell. So this is what happened, Yen explained the situation briefly, and then said, the handprint that's shown on the turtle shell should be the key to opening it. Just place your hand onto it, and you should be able to find out the secret of the turtle shell. Since it was little who brought it, I'm not going to mess with it. Could it be dangerous? Zwa wondered aloud. At this moment, he was a little unsure of what to do. I don't know. Yen shook his head, and he hesitated for a second, then stated his thoughts. The reason why I called you guys over was because I don't know whether it's dangerous or not. Since you're all here, even if the turtle shell turns out to be dangerous, you'll be able to stop it. So you're saying that we can give it a try? Zwa eyes brightened. Dragon turtle armor and basalt scriptures were obviously connected to secret treasures and martial skills, so no wonder they grabbed Zwa interest. Of course we can give it a try. Yen smirked and said lightly, Grandpa Zwa, if you're worried about Xiaoshi, I can do it for her. How's that? I'll do it. Zwa heard what Yen said, and without asking for Zwa-Su's opinion, held out her glistening hand and pressed it into the deep indent on the turtle shell. Boom! A low, exploding sound came from the inside of the turtle shell. 5 thin needles shot out and embedded themselves into Zwa-Su's 5 fingers that were placed into the indent. Bright red blood immediately dripped out of Zwa-Su's fingers. Like rubies, the blood rolled around in the indent as if it was solid and was finally absorbed by the turtle shell. Bright green light suddenly burst out from the turtle shell, and the blazing green light was blinding to everyone's eyes. Strange ancient symbols formed by the green light suddenly flew out, went along Zwa-Su's arm, and it flew straight into her head. Zwa-Su suddenly opened her eyes and smiled. Joyfully she said, Those strange lights are the cultivation info of the... Now in my mind, I've obtained the complete cultivation method of the... What level of martial skill? Zwa-Su impatiently asked. He was so excited he could jump. Shaking her head, Zwa-Su said, I don't know. All I got was the cultivation method of the... and it didn't say which level of martial skill it is. Zhuo Su smilingly looked at Shi Jian and said, "Don't worry, people from our family are going to keep watch by the dark forest. If there's any news on Karu, I'll send people to tell you. Same thing with you guys. Communicate with us once something comes up." "Of course, Sai. I can't believe a figure as little as Master Karu can steal the treasure map of Musun." Now, Misty Pavilion has another piece. Whoever is able to get both pieces of the map would be able to open the gate of heaven with no difficulty. It's really unfortunate. Shi Jian's expression was full of lament. "Master Karu." Shi Yan furrowed his brows and whispered. He thought for a second, then asked, "That Karu guy, was he a level 5 mortality alchemist?" You know about Master Karu?" Zhuo Su was curious. "Is he important?" "Sure." Yen didn't answer the question and asked in response. "He's not important. However, the treasure map indicating the gate of heaven, that's on him, is extremely important." Zhuo Su said, "I killed him a long time ago, and that treasure map, just happens to be in my hands." "What?" Zhuo Su, Shi Jian, and Zhuo all opened their eyes wide. Simultaneously, they exclaimed out loud. Chapter 58, The Plot. Chapter 58, The Plot. In the gravity room. From the bag at the corner, Shi Yan took out a yellowish broken picture and handed it to Shi Jian. "Here, this is it." Shi Jian, Zhuo Su, and Zhuo all looked at him with faces full of suspicion. Shi Jian took that broken picture and started to scan it carefully when his eyes gradually lightened up. "Good! This picture doesn't look fake. It is quite old, as some of the patterns on it have already blurred. Let me have a look." Zhuo Su was a little hasty, as he quickly took the broken picture. After touching it, he cried, "It can't be fake. We have the same paper in the Zhuo family, which is made of the soft skin from the belly of a demon beast from remote ages. It's fire, water, and wear-proof, basically indestructible. Tell me in detail about what happened between you and Karu, and how many people know about this." Shi Jian looked rigid as he took a deep breath, but he couldn't hide the happiness in his eyes. "You weirdo are really strange." Zhuo Shi's beautiful eyes were also focused on Shi Yan. She was becoming more interested in him. "Well, this is the thing." Shi Yan noticed the seriousness of it after seeing Shi Jian and Zhuo Su's reaction. Therefore, he quickly explained how he got that picture and how he escaped from the ancient cave. "So the Mo family knows about it too." Zhuo Su's face changed. After a pause, he sneered, "No wonder the people from the Mo family are still lingering in Silent Town. They must be searching for you." "The Mo family?" Shi Jian grunted and said angrily, "Thank goodness Shi Yan is fine. If he was hurt by them, I would destroy Mo Tua even by sacrificing myself. The Mo family has done too many evil things. They're going to look down upon the Shi family if we don't teach them a lesson soon. Mu Yu Dai and Di Yaolin were taken away by Bai Mingsu, and they don't know who you are." Deliberating for a while, Zhuo Su asked again, "No matter if it is Mu Yu Dai, Di Yaolin, or the people from the Mo family, no one knows who I am. I told the two girls that my name was Ding Yan." "Good boy. Cautious enough, or it would be very tough," Zhuo Su complimented. "Now that we got this half of the picture, we should get the other half." Shi Jian said firmly to Zhuo Su, "Brother Zhuo, we can take the risk. Once we got the other half of the picture from the Misty Pavilion, we two families can open the Sky Gate and enter the God area to search for treasures." Narrowing his eyes, which were blinking brightly, Zhuo Su sank deep into thought. He then said, "There are many experts in the Misty Pavilion. We have to make a good plan if we want to grab the picture from them." He added after a pause, "I will write a letter right away to Qi Shao and let an eagle take it to Cloud Mountain. Qi Shao is at the Sky Realm. We will be safer if he is here with us. After all, That old man Baimingshang is eager for the picture too, and was already planning on getting it. Great! We have larger chance of winning if Qi Shao attends too. Shi Jian was joyful. Qi Shao was Zhua Shi's teacher and close to the Zhua family. As a Sky Realm warrior, he could help a lot once he came to Tianyin City and allied with the two families. Zhua Shui didn't fear that Qi Shao would keep the secret of the Sky Gate to himself. Though there were many treasures in the God area, this was also accompanied with incredible dangers. The journey would be much more secure if a Sky Realm warrior was with them. The most important thing was, Qi Shao was an individual. However greedy he was, he couldn't possess everything in the God area. On the contrary, a big family like the Baiming family would take all the advantages. Kid, you'd better not attend this year's martial competition. Zhua Su said after some deliberation. If the Mo family recognizes your face, they would know that we already have half of the picture. Once the other half in the Misty Pavilion is stolen, they will know it was us. Then our two families would be assaulted by everybody. Well, this, Shi Jian hesitated, but at last he nodded helplessly. For the Sky Gate's sake, we have to do this. Not exactly. He can attend the martial competition once he changes his appearance. No one from the Mo family has seen him before. Just change his face. Who would know that he was the boy who killed Karu? Zhua Shi suggested with a big smile, blinking her eyes. Hey, good idea. Shi Jian's eyes blinked. After examining Shi Yan for a while, he said, his appearance has changed a lot in the past few months, and the people from the Mo family won't identify him if we put a little makeup to him. And you better take action during the martial competition. Han Zhong said the Misty Pavilion will also send some people to the competition. During the competition, if you send some experts with Qi Shao to the Misty Pavilion to steal the picture, you may not be suspected. Sure, Yen thought for a while, and also uttered his opinion. We can take action in the middle of the martial competition. Zhua Su mumbled something, and then replied loudly, Sounds great. Let's do it during the martial competition. We will also be present then, and no one will know it was us who robbed the Misty Pavilion. Once Qi Shao helps us, we will have an 80% possibility of getting the other half of that picture. Will Qi Shao help us? Shi Jian was not sure. Don't worry. He definitely will. That old guy is very interested in the Sky Gate, thus he will come right away from Cloud Mountain as soon as he gets the news. Zhua Shi didn't worry at all. I know him too well. He is more curious than anyone about unknown things. Then it's fixed. Shi Jian was assured. He then took the picture back from Zhua Su and put it into his own pocket happily. Brother Zhua, it's time for you to go back and make preparations. I'll be waiting for Qi Shao to get the other half and come to complete mine. Ha ha ha. Great. Zhua Su nodded with satisfaction. He pulled Zhua Shi. Let's go, we should plan on it. Let me keep the picture. You should do nothing but training. I will find someone tomorrow to come and change your appearance. You should beat the Mo descendants hard. Shi Jian yelled. Okay. In the Mo family, Mo Tua was strolling around the Thunder Palace with a rigid face. Beside him stood Mo Chauga and Mo Yanyu. Mo Yanyu's pretty face was full of bitterness. So was Mo Chauga as he lowered his head. Why can't we find him? Are you so useless? You can't even find a boy who has no background. We have so many people in every city. Do they only know how to waste our resources? Mo Tua berated loudly. He pointed at Mo Chauga and Mo Yanyu and yelled furiously, You too! You have made so much trouble over such a small task. You are more like 2 rice buckets. Father, I've sent people to search, and our people in Silent Town never took a single day off. But the merchant union is too vast. Who knows where that boy has gone? I did my best. Useless. All useless. Mo Tua cursed loudly for about 10 minutes, before finally tiring, and he sighed helplessly, Seems I have to pay a visit to the Baiming family in person. Father, will we not receive anything if Baiming Shan knows about it? Do you have any better ideas? Emo Tua looked so gloomy that he could swallow a monster. Do you think I want to? If you hadn't let that guy escape, I wouldn't need to visit Baiming Shan. Only Mu Yu Dai knows who that young boy who killed Karu is. Only her. And only she may know where that boy is now. Do you think I would need to do this if you weren't so useless? Crap. Father, sorry, I was wrong. Emo Chowga pleaded miserably. Then he turned and stared at Emo Yinyu hard. If you can't win the martial competition, your father can't help you either. Emo Yinyu nodded hastily with her face full of fear. In the Baiming family, at the center of an artificial lake, there was a medium-sized island covered with bamboo houses. In the garden of one of the bamboo houses, Muyu Dai was sitting, feeling soft breeze on her skin and focusing her nimble fingers on the zither. The melodious zither melody rippled out slowly, attracting the birds on the clear lake, which gathered in the garden and forgot to leave. Dialin was in the training field of another garden. With a long sword in her hand, which was splashing fire, she was training with a certain martial skill. Her hot figure was sending out intoxicating charisma in the sunlight. At the bank of the lake, every passing warrior would stop and stare, gazing at the island with eager eyes and a captured face. Sister Lan, how is this fire cloud sword? After a piece of music, Muyu Dai approached Dialin with a big smile. The Baiming family is known for its expertise in making weapons. Even in our fire empire, no one is better at it than the Baiming family. The fire cloud sword is a mystery-level weapon, which can really help me release all of my strength when accompanied with the fire cloud formula. More specifically, it can bear the fire from my blue magic flame. It's really good. Dialin nodded. Apparently, she was very satisfied with her new weapon. So, are you still regretting coming with me? Alas. Dialin shook her head, and an image appeared in her mind again. She barely smiled. It's useless to say these things now. I'm afraid I won't see him again in this life. For revenge, for our family's prosperity, I have to do this. It's just can't let it go. Yeah. Sometimes I miss him too. Muyu Dai let out a rare sigh as well. I feel that I owe him. But what could we do? We are only two girls who have lost their family and are saddled with a heavy mission. We have to be realistic and choose a powerful party, or we will spend our whole life as a commoner and live a boring life. He is not common at all. Sometimes I feel he is more horrifying than Baiming Su. He won't be any worse off than others if he has the opportunity. Unluckily, God didn't give him an opportunity. If he wants to succeed, he needs to advance step by step since he doesn't have a big family supporting him. We can't wait for too long. I know. That's why I'm here with you and not with him. Miss Mu, the family head, has invited you, and Miss Dialin to the ice pavilion. It is an important talk. At the center of lake, a warrior was standing on a boat and shouting at the island. Okay. Muyu Dai replied, as she frowned in puzzlement. Why does he ask for us? We never made an appearance since we arrived at the Baiming family. This unexpected invitation is very strange. He is going to talk about your marriage with Baiming Su? Dialin assumed. I won't marry Baiming Su if they don't help me get my revenge. Muyu Dai humphed coldly. I came to the Baiming family for their ability to help in my revenge. I feel nothing for Baiming Su at all. Even if I fall in love with him in the future, I will leave sooner or later. Humph. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.